All right, welcome everybody to the grand finals of the Badass Women of Hearthstone. I am one of your casters, Nekkra, and I'm joined by Run. He said, it's Nekkra coming at you with the grand finals cast. How are you doing today, Run?
Oh my gosh, Nekkra, can you believe we are here? I am
I can't.
so thrilled. It has been 8 rounds of Swiss, so that means 8 weeks. Plus,
Oh yeah.
now we had EU last weekend to crown the champion there, and now we're finally getting to the NA. So 10 weeks of the Bad A Women of Hearthstone, and here we are at the finals.
Yeah, and we've got two of the biggest badasses in the entire
Heck
Hearthstone
yeah.
tournament that we're going to be watching today as a part of the NA division. It's going to be Pathra versus futureshock, and this is going to be a big match. There's a lot of stakes on the line here.
There is so much on the line. These two players did fantastic. Actually, little note, Patra took eighth in the Swiss, barely squeezing in one of the
Wow.
5-3s. Her tiebreakers did get her in. So she did go 5-3. Here she is in the finals. Also, interesting
So
note,
cool.
we have Future Shock, also a 5-3, but took fourth place. So this has been quite the toss up. It was anybody's game going in. As you could tell, eighth place Patra is now, going into the finals, as well as fourth place Future Shock. So very interesting tournament. Shows that there's so many excellent players.
There really are. And so we got to commend those players that have come before these last two that are standing, and how fitting that that's how we're going to be playing today. It's going to be last hero standing to be able to determine who's going to be crowned the champion of the NA division of the Badass Women of Hearthstone. And we have some stakes here. So Patra came in eighth, is all the way at the first seed, means that she only has to win one last hero standing set, whereas Future Shock, coming in from the consolation bracket, is going to have to win twice.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, Nekkra, we've already seen this matchup. When in the winners bracket, we saw Future Shock facing Patra, and Patra actually taking it down 3-0.
Wow.
So the question is Future Shock going to be out for blood now? Is she going to be wanting to take Patra down? Is this a rematch where she's going to win it all? Or are we going to see another 3-0? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one to say. I mean, there's so many odds that are in here, but why don't you give us a little bit of information? I think you know that matchup that happened between Patra and Future Shock, and how good Patra is with that Mechathune Warlock deck that she's bringing.
Yes, yeah, she is excellent with it. It's not favored versus a lot of decks in Future Shock's lineup. So the fact that she was able to 3-0 with it is just shows her skill level to both decks. And Patra really, Nekkra, she is no unknown. She is a fantastic player. She actually took third, fourth in the WSOE that was broadcast recently. Yeah. So very well known from there. And the last 2 years has made the global games. Taking
Incredible.
third, fourth, I know, and seventh. Third, fourth last year, and seventh, eighth in 2017. So definitely very skilled player, a household name, streams regularly, has a huge following. So and so with that being said, welcome to all of Patra's people. We're excited you guys are here to cheer on your girl. But Future Shock Nekkra is a Japanese player for Team Mana Surge, and she plays in the APAC lands all the time, as well as it's a multiple legend has hit legend multiple times on different servers. So she is no slouch either, if you will.
Oh, both of these players absolutely deserve to be here. They are tried and true veterans in the Hearthstone scene, and they're getting ready to go. So we have a little bit of information for you. We found out that Future Shock is going to ban Patra's Clone Priest. And we see also that Patra, on the flip side, banned Future Shock's mid-range hunter. So we're actually going to be getting into game right now. Both of those decks are off the table, and we're going to see what they're queued into for this very first matchup of today.
Okay, so it looks like, Patra's going to go with the Warlock again, and Future Shock is going to queue up that Paladin. So, are we going to see the same match happen again? I don't know. We're going to find out quickly, though. How do you feel that the Mechathune is going to look in this matchup?
I mean, the
Okay.
odds are against it. And you talked about this before, but Patra knows this deck so well that she was
Mhm.
able to take Future Shock out earlier in the bracket, going 3-0 with that Mechathoon Warlock. So, maybe she knows something that we don't about this deck. But in this specific matchup, odds are in favor of the Mechathoon Warlock. This is actually the best matchup that could possibly be.
Yeah, this is definitely if your Mechathoon is gonna win, or if you're gonna beat the Mechathoon with. Sorry, let me start over on that Nekkra. The 53% win rate for the Mechathoon.
Yes.
This is the best place for Patra to start here with this deck, because it's the highest statistically win rate.
Mm-hmm. And she's off to a great start as well, Run. Look at that. Top decking a Kobold Librarian to be able to start off this set. Future Shock is just going to sit there and rally some troops there from the jungle and probably just going to look at getting some more small minions on board. You do have that Blessed Maul in hand, which means that you're going to be able to get some pretty big minions on board if Patra's not able to deal with them. But we can already see she's got that Defile.
Yeah, she's got the Defile, and that's probably the hardest thing to see when you're an odd paladin in this matchup, is having the Defile pretty much takes care of any board that an early odd paladin can build. So, and then these early minions, the Kobold, the Thanos, they're just easily able to clear the board. So it's not a great start for Future Shock. However, we do know that odd paladin can just build board after board after board, and it can run this Mechathoon down easily.
Absolutely, because Mechathoon is a late game deck. And so, what Patra is looking to do here is really control the board. You're going to see that instead of using the Blood Mage Thalnos to actually get spell damage value, she's getting the value from the Death Rattle, which is just drawing an extra card, trying to draw out her deck in order to get the value from the Mechathoon. But Mechathoon's already in hand run. That's
I
not what you
know.
want to see this early on in the game.
And look at that. All the pieces to the combo are in hand now. Not exactly what you want to see. You want to find your healing. You want to find your board clears. You want to find
Card draw.
card draw. Yeah, exactly. You want to move as fast as you can. And having all the combo pieces this early can definitely be a detriment.
It can be a detriment for sure. And, that just means, though, that Patra's going to have to really rely on the heart of the cards here as she moves forward in this matchup. But Future Shock's looking really good right now in terms of creating a board presence. But I bet you that's going to get punished here because Patra has that Defile in hand.
Yeah. Ooh, but she decides to go ahead. It looks like she's hovering over the Defile. I'm a little surprised. I would think that she might want to hold that maybe one more turn to get that Acolyte down. And she hesitates.
She's thinking about it. So
she's playing with her emotions again. Which way she goes? Okay, she does get that Acolyte down. I'm not surprised to see that at all. Future Shock really doesn't have a great way to clear, and with that Defile in hand, it's going to make a nice way to clear the board and get some card draw.
Yeah, you really nailed it, because that Defile, if it is able to hit next turn, is going to be 3 cards potentially that she'll be able to draw with the 1 health dudes on board as well as the 2 health Firefly. But what you're looking at here, Run, is if you're Patra, you're looking at taking a lot of damage to the face. There's way too many ways in Future Shock's hand to be able to buff those minions, give them some extra damage, and that's all going to get sent to Patra.
Yes, I agree. So if you're looking at Future Shock's hand here, what do you think is the key element to keeping to pushing damage to face right now, Nekkra?
So it kind of looks like she's hovering over a couple of options, and the ones that stick out to me, maybe coining out a Frostwolf Warlord, just to be able to kind of get a major minion on board. But I like the Blessing of Might choice as well. Going to completely devalue that Acolyte there by just kind of getting it off board, but that's going to be damage to the face with that Blessed Maul there that we talked about being in hand from turn 1, and this Defile's totally hitting. There's like no hesitation here.
Yes, yeah, she's got to get some of this off of the board here. Tar Creeper going down is a big deal. We've got that Spellstone in hand now, so there's a lot of healing, as well as, she, even though she's still sitting on those combo pieces, she's still got a lot of choices here to be able to clear some board. But she has got to really get something else in hand. This won't last that long.
Yeah. She when I'm looking at Future Shock's hand, I kind of see that she's waiting to get that Vine Cleaver up. You really want to be able to start building more of a board presence in, because but look at that. What we talked about before, that Odd Paladin is already starting to maintain board presence, even though everything got cleared from the defiled turn ago.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what Odd Paladin does, especially with slower decks, is it just runs it down. However, that healing, that Amethyst Spellstone sitting there, able to clear up a good portion of this board if she wanted. She did get some card draw there. So, and Ziliak's coming to hand. This is exactly what you want to see as a Mech Cthulhu Warlock. You've got your card draw, you've got stall, you've got healing. Future Shock's really going to have to figure out, how do I put some pressure now that we're under 15 health. And this hand doesn't have a lot of it, except for having that weapon.
Yeah, the Vine Cleaver is going to be good to continue to widen the board, but also pushing potentially 4 damage to face. But, you're in this... Tar Creeper just came out at the right time for Pathra here, because you've got so much stall potential now on board. You either, like Future Shock has choices here. You either use your face, or you use your minions, and it's kind of a tough call.
Yeah, in this matchup though, really, you don't mind using your face. The Mech-Cthulhu Warlock's rarely going to do enough damage to you to be able to worry about your health total getting that low. We do see the weapon coming down. I like this choice. It does give Future Shock the ability to kind of maybe get out a big, large minion that can be hard for Pathra to deal with. If she can get a full board next hand by putting that weapon out, it kind of guarantees that she'll have at least 8 minions, 4 minions on the board next turn. So I like this a lot on Future Shock's part. Now, we do see the Amethyst Spellstone coming out, and we do know that Pathra has the Voodoo in hand, so it will be a little bit easier for her to clear that, but a second large minion could really hurt Pathra here.
Yeah, and you're looking at the Frostwolf Warlords now that you're seeing in hand, so that does look like a nice minion to put out there. I wonder whether or not we're going to see that come down. It does pair really well with the after effects of utilizing the Vine Cleaver, so you will get at least like a 6/6. Ooh, actually, yeah, you'll get maybe an 8/8 Frostwolf Warlord if you also utilize your hero power. I think that's just your best option here.
Yes, and then having the Fungal Mancer come into hand is going to be a big deal here, because not only is she going to be able to follow up that play, because Pathra now has to deal with that Frostwolf, so now she's going to be able to look to the Fungal Mancer. She also has that second Frostwolf. It's going to be a lot of pressure that Patra's going to have to try to deal with here, and it can be very difficult to find that much big minion pressure. So we do see the first one go down, which we knew that was a very, very likely possibility.
Yeah.
With that Voodoo Doctor Voodoo Doll, Voodoo all the same here these days, right?
Both exist.
But we do see her hovering over Ziliak's, and there's some more of that healing at least. And she goes ahead and magnetizes that, my stars.
Oh, yeah.
Making that even bigger. So adding some extra health to her on that side of it. So, Future Shock's really going to have to put the pressure out for some large minions here that Pathra just can't clear to close this game out.
Yeah, and we're getting closer and closer to the end, too. So we're already over halfway through Patra's deck. We've got 12 cards left. And you already see the pieces for that Mech-Cthulhu death in hand for Pathra. But Future Shock here is just going to look at widening the board and then definitely strengthening it, maybe with the Frostwolf or maybe the Fungal Mancer.
I definitely like Frostwolf here. Yes, another large minion that Patra's really going to struggle to clear. Something good has to come off the top here, and that's not
Ooh,
going to do
Mortal
it.
Coil.
But it will at least give her some card draw to see what she can get.
Oh, that's...
I don't know that she's going to have a way to clear here, even with that Godfrey coming out. That's kind of rough. I think she's going to have to dig for some more answers here. Nekkra, what do you think?
She has time, though. So I look at it this way. You could potentially put Godfrey out to at least clear the minions, but because there's still that worry of there being buff cards in Future Shock's hand and deck, because we can see that there's still a Fungal Mancer. We know that there is another blessed, there's another Maul in there that could become blessed, and there are just other ways to increase the damage on the board, right? So I would say get rid of those dudes, get them out of here. Their turn is done, and try to figure out a way to deal with the Frost Wolf later. Because now look, it's at 6 health. You might be able to draw something off the top of your deck, and that will help to clear that big threat off the board.
Yes, I agree. I think that you were right. The Godfrey was definitely probably the best call there. Clearing that board did eliminate, what was that? Probably about 12 damage or so. Well, not quite, but the War Leader wouldn't have been able to come down. However, I think you're right. That's the right call. But there is so much going on in Future Shock's hand right now. Righteous Protector, Hero Power, the Fungal Mancer, the oh my goodness, the War Leader. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so much damage that can peel off the top right now.
Well, that's what I was concerned about. You see that raid leader in hand, and like, what beautiful graphics to that card also when it's golden. But that's one of the cards I was concerned about, because you had 5 dudes on board. Think about that. You're pushing lethal. You would be 2 off if everything had stayed on board and you had top deck that raid leader. Future Shock would have been rejoicing knowing that they had gotten Pathra that low. But there's still so much damage coming out here. If Pathra can't find a way to deal with the Frostwolf Warlord, that's it.
Yeah, there has to be an answer in deck. And even then, will this work? Will this work?
There's not enough. So you get to the point where you can do 3 damage to everything on board. It will not be enough to clear the Godfrey, which means that it's not going to be enough to clear the Glowtron or the Frostwolf Warlord either, if I'm doing my math correctly. So I don't think this Defile is quite what we needed.
Yeah, I think she has to dig to see if there's anything. Okay,
Mortal Coil.
Mortal Coil comes out. But
wait, she's
what
counting.
Can Pathra do? Yes, she needs something to get to 3 mana. But even then, that's still gonna leave that Frostwolf on.
And that's game.
Board. Yeah,
I think that's it. I don't think that there's. I think anything else that she. Okay, well, she could destroy all the minions that are on the board, but what does that do for you when Megathune is here?
Yes, I mean, having all those combo pieces in hand that early, I think that she's making the right call. I mean, Mortal Coil is your only option. Solarium, I wish she had played a little faster Solarium, may giving her another turn. But not gonna get there, unfortunately. Yeah, that's just game. Well played to Future Shock. She knew what she had to do, and she did it. Pathra, getting that combo in hand so early was definitely a problem. She played it well, but what could you have really done different there, Nekkra?
I think that Pathra got unlucky. Like, that's kind of the only thing that I can think of at the moment, because I think she played that deck correctly. It was just she got unlucky with the fact that Mechathune came into her hand early, and she didn't really quite get the cards that she needed in order to be able to clear that massive Frostwolf off of the board. That was a 10-10 that became a 12-10. Like, that was just enormous, and so it was just too much damage, too much pressure for Pathra to really be able to deal with. That Spellstone had to come out early because she was so low. That maybe that was the only thing I would have said is I think she could have stood to take some damage from the but she froze the worm, and then she used her fully buff Spellstone on it. And so maybe that would have been the one card I would have held on to because I think she could have taken some chip damage from that.
Yeah, I think there were maybe some options there. But not having seen the Frost Wolves come down, maybe she thought they weren't in hand, but we could see that both were.
Yeah,
It's
that's
rough
tough.
when turn 3, 4, and 5 you get your Mecha'thun, your Blood Bloom, and your Cataclysm. Those
Yeah.
are not the cards you want to see. And Odd Paladin, those are big turns for Odd Paladin. And if you can't beat him there, you're probably not going to. Next up, we have the Death Rattle Hunter versus Future Shock Odd Paladin again, since it's his last hero standing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what
This
does
isn't
this
favorite
matchup
either.
look like, right?
So yeah, like the Death Rattle Hunter's odds of beating an odd paladin, haha, get it? See what I did there? Are only 35%. So there's not a great chance of Patra taking this, but we've seen her overcome surmountable odds before with the Mecha'thun, which has significantly worse odds against everything else in Future Shock's lineup. So we've seen it before. If Patra is able to get a phenomenal curve, and this means seeing those 1 and 2 drops early on, then
Mm-hmm.
we might she might
Yeah.
have a chance.
And I mean, the biggest thing that I've seen to help in this matchup is if you can get your Grizzlies out early, you get them cubed. Just getting those taunts out is good.
That might be what she needed.
But this is great. Early minion pressure. We've got the Firefly, and Keleseth. Anytime you can get Keleseth out there, your
Yeah.
chances of winning are so much better.
Absolutely. I feel like the early mulligan of Prince Keleseth coming into hand, I think, is something like a 70% win rate. It's absurd. So
Mm.
seeing this, Patra is going to not hesitate at all getting Keleseth on the board, and Future Shock's going to be trembling a little bit, especially because of the hand that she has right now. Those are some
Yes.
high value cards.
Not what you want to see
Yeah.
really in your hand. I mean, you do have, oh my goodness, the worm, Nekkra. The worm. What is the worm's name? Um, no. I
Oh,
cannot
Corridor
think of it.
Creeper.
Corridor Creeper. Oh my stars. Every match.
I mean, I couldn't remember it either, so.
But at least you have that. But other than that, I mean, you're looking at a slow hand. 5 and 7 drops are just not what you want to see in your hand when you're facing this, because the longer this goes on, the less likely you are to win.
Yeah. Well, let's see what Patra draws off of that tracking too. Look at those buffed minions that she has the
Oh,
ability to draw. You can either take the
yes.
Witchwood Grizzly or the Tar Creeper, both of which are going to be pretty key in this matchup here to try to stall off some of this damage that Future Shock is trying to get on board, because we've seen it before. We saw it last game, how quickly you can build a wide and tall board if you're an odd paladin.
Yes, and I mean, looking at that buffed Grizzly, there isn't a whole lot of minions that are going to come out of Future Shock's deck that are going to be larger than a 4 health. With your Frostwolf and your Baku, and those are kind of it. So having that Witchwood on hand is great. And then look at this. Oh my goodness, this is exactly what you want to see if you're in Patra's position. You've got Witchwood on 5, followed directly by the Carnivorous Cube and the Play Dead to give you 2 ginormous taunts. It's fantastic if you're Patra. This is what you want to see. This gives you time to stabilize and put your own game plan into action. So,
Grizzly, Cube, Play Dead. You're right. There's no better hand if you're a Death Rattle Hunter.
Against an odd paladin for sure. And there's no silence in Future Shock's deck. There, really, I mean, all you can do is buff, and that's exactly what we're gonna see from Future Shock. She's gonna place out as much as minions as she can to try to get those buffs down. And to add insult to injury, you have Spider Bomb. Spider Bomb.
Gosh.
As well as another play dead in hand. I mean, if these boards get out of hand, you just got answers for days if you're on Patra's side.
Yeah, those activators are going to be really important here, but you're looking at the state of Future Shock's board as well, and now we're starting getting into the part of the game where this awkward hand that looked like it was awkward at the start is really going to come to fruition here. So you do have a Frostwolf Warlord. You are going to be able to get that Vine Cleaver online soon, and even that Fungal Mancer looking like really exceptional choices here for the next couple of turns.
And actually, she's going to be able to clear this Grizzly,
Oh
which
yeah.
is going to feel great for Future Shock because had she been able to cube it, it would have been disastrous. Still,
Yeah.
if I'm in Patra's side, I'm not as scared as I think I would be in other situations because I've still got the Spider Bomb, I've still got the cube and the Play Dead. There are ways to be able to deal with this. We do see that she's going to use her Blessing of Might on that Corridor Creeper. A huge minion right now, and still leaves a giant board.
Ooh, but that
Um,
Houndmaster Shaw coming into hand. How do you feel about that? And what do you think Patra's options are here for rebuilding board presence?
I think you've got to hold that Houndmaster Shaw this turn, even though it's going to deal a lot of damage to face because you do have the Spider Bomb trigger plus the Play Dead, which is going to be able to do a lot for you. Once you're able to kind of clear this board up, then you can look into maybe cubing the Houndmaster Shaw, which gives you huge amount of value in the game. But it doesn't look like maybe Pathra's thinking about waiting here on this. Maybe she's thinking about playing it.
I think she's worried about that 7/3 Corridor Creeper, knowing how many cards Future Shock has in deck to be able to combo and create even more damage on board. So she might be looking, or maybe she'll even put the Spider Bomb down and play some Playdeads and play the odds there.
Yeah, I mean, really, though, statistically, your odds aren't great. You have 1 in 4 to be able to hit that 7/3, and then hitting the other two just doesn't feel all that great. But
Oh,
she's
here we
not
go.
doesn't have a whole lot of choices. That was probably the second best hit there. She's gonna take it, and it does. She weighed her options, and that was huge. That was such a big clear for her. Like that was an excellent odds, and I think pretty heads up play there.
Oh my gosh, that was just RNG. Whoo! That was
Yes.
absolutely nuts. Patra is probably celebrating right now, knowing that she got that big threat off the board, but it's not over yet. Future
So,
Shock still has so many resources in hand to be able to do more damage, and I think she might be thinking about you're unfortunately 1 mana off. She's definitely thinking about trying to get a Silver Hands on board with a Frostwolf Lord, but maybe you just put the Frostwolf Lord down now, um, knowing that it's going to take a while to clear. It's kind of
uh,
hard to say.
yeah, I think that you are actually probably better off just going ahead and clearing and not losing any extra minions. And holding that because now she does have the hero power plus the frostwolf, but she also has the weapon for next turn. So I agree, hero power and just float the mana is probably the best. We do see that divine spirit in hand, and in very few matchups is that a dead card, but against Hunter, it's almost never very much in draw. That Ziliax off the top is a pretty nice pickup indeed for Pathra. She didn't need the healing, but having that taunt and just another minion to block damage is fantastic.
Yeah,
So
she definitely didn't need the healing, but that's going to get cleared so quickly, and that lifesteal will be devalued here. Vine Cleaver coming out means that Future Shock's going to be running away with his board pretty soon, but that top deck of the Tar
oh
Creeper,
yeah, Tar
oh
Creeper's
man.
huge, along with the ability, like the fact that it's buffed
Yeah.
and it has Rush now is fantastic. It allows Patra yet again to just start clearing board and not allow things to get out of hand. Now we still see that she has a lot of options here. Another blessing comes into hand. She has the Frostwolf. She has the hero power, so she can actually pretty much, do what she wants with this board and be able to clear the Tar Creeper and not worry so much about damage going to face, but be able to build a large board. And Patra's sitting over here with one card. One card. Doesn't feel great.
But that card is a cube. And seen crazier things happen when cubes are at play. So we'll see whether or not we actually do see that combo you were talking about before by getting multiple Houndmaster Shaws on board. But that Frost Wolf.
Giant Frost Wolf.
Oh, we're seeing a repeat of last
Mm-hmm.
game. And this is why the odds are so heavily in favor of the Odd Paladin in this matchup.
Yes, yeah. I mean, this is exactly what it wants to do. That
Ooh,
pickup
that
there was pretty big for Patra, being able to get that weapon, get a little bit of armor, as well as start to, chip away at this board with the rush.
yeah. I mean, it's entirely possible that you see the cube come out here, cube
To
the Gluttonous
clear.
Ooze, or even the Hawkmaster Shaw to try to clear off this Frostwolf Warlord.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised to see her cube the ooze here,
Yeah.
um, and then
But she'll have to sack both.
yeah, but it's cleared though, and that's the biggest thing is
Yeah.
that I don't know how you really survive too well, not being able to really reach into your deck that much. So she is able to at least get that giant minion off of the board. But we do see that Future Shock still has a lot of resources in hand. The Blessing, being able to help clear this board. The Baku just being a big minion that she can't deal with. And she does go face. I agree with this wholeheartedly. At this
Yeah.
point, there's just not a whole lot coming off the top. Might as well push that damage now.
Oh, but the Witchwood Grizzly, that's an easy choice to be able to say, I'm putting this out there to stop some of this damage, especially from that Baku. But it's still, Patra's playing off the top of her deck right now.
Which is never a feel good moment if you are in the position of Patra. But the thing is all it takes is one Katharina to end this game almost. So she very well could top deck it and get a couple of big minions out that just take over this board, and she's sitting at a decent life total. But if she doesn't get the draws she needs off the top, it's going to be rough. And we know that she doesn't have tracking in hand any longer, so she's really just got to get Katharina to be able to really deal with this. So
yeah. But I think the best clear here for the Witchwood Grizzly is probably going to be, maybe even Blessing of Might your Baku to try to get rid of this. But I think that Future Shock is looking at this in other ways too. She doesn't want to get Baku to the point where it could be taken out really easily, which is what could happen if she sacks it into the Witchwood. So, she is looking at, can I Vine Cleaver? Can I take some of that 4 damage to the face? She's really thinking about this critically here, which is what you love to see from this level of Hearthstone play.
yes, I think Future Shock is really doing an excellent job. I don't mind taking a little bit more to face. There are so few. There are 2 draws pretty much in Patra's deck that are going to lose her the game. And if those happen, it's probably just going to happen. You can't do anything about those. You don't have any taunt minions. But so I don't mind her taking some damage to face and seeing what happens. So
Gotta say though, the odds really have been, RNG has been in Patra's favor for most of this game, but that's not what you want to see. The Terrascale Stalker might seal the deal here. I think this is.
I mean, the game is not over because we can see that while Future Shock has a large board, let's see, 10, 12, 16 damage on board, that's not lethal for another turn.
That's true. And she's going to have to, this Terrascale is going to put in a lot of pressure to have to, for Future Shock to be able to deal with, because she is at 7 health. That's not much.
So that is going to take some of the damage away, whether that's the weapon or whether that's some other way, because there is some way. But we do see Leroy come into hand. It doesn't really change the fact that it's still 2 turns from lethal. It just means that Patra needs to top deck Katharina or King Crush, and that's it. That's the only things in the deck that I think are going to be able to. The Amani Warbear will help her maybe survive another turn, but I mean, she's got 10 damage sitting in hand pretty much right now. and needs a clear.
Well, we'll see what comes off the top. That's gonna be Deathstalker Rexar. That's gonna help a little bit here. Gotta get rid of that steady shot though, so we're gonna see Deathstalker Rexar coming down, going to clear the rest of Future Shock's board, and now you can start getting some of those Build-A-Beasts. And if you get anything that has charge or rush or lifesteal, you're gonna be in a good position.
Bloatbat's probably one of the best that you could see. You know, you could hold for the hatchling here. I don't know that I like it, but that Bloatbat, if it has taunt, if you get anything with taunt or poisonous rush.
Yeah. Oh my god. All the choices are here.
Yes, I mean, assuming that she chose the Bloatbat, we can't actually see that, but you know, she has the Echo Rush. I'm kind of feeling like as long as she's taking that, maybe she didn't. Oh, she did. She did. Oh my gosh. What a crazy pickup. This could save her the game.
It really might.
You know, that Maul coming into hand gives you 2, if I'm not mistaken, I can't quite see, but it gives you 2 1/1 Silverhand recruits, if I'm not mistaken there.
Yes, correct.
This means so many things for Pathra here. I mean, at 5 health, she could get a charge minion off of her hero power. She's able to clear the board. I mean, there's just so much. And then if this Leroy comes down, pushing the rest of that damage, she actually has 2 minions on board. So you can see Future Shock is really weighing it out. What do I do here? Chooses not to, looks like, throw it down just yet. I say that, though. She didn't turn like I thought she was going to.
She's thinking about it.
This is so exciting. I am on the edge of my seat. I just want to know what is going to happen.
I can see it, but...
Oh! What a pickup.
Undasta.
Oh, I don't even know what you do here.
Oh my goodness, this is gonna be...
Oh, what do you do? Do you Undasta to clear the board? Or to... Yeah, I mean, that clears... No, it doesn't clear the board. Oh my goodness. She does go for the Undasta. But knowing that she can pull a charge minion or... Oh wait, no, that's not it. There we go, she clears the board. This is such a game.
This is such a game. Like, I can see you, Run. I can see how excited you are in the camera, and I know that... Yeah, Specs can't see it, but I can, and it is genuine excitement, and I'm on the edge of my seat. Like, I had to, like, sit up because I'm so invested, but... Ooh, these are great taunts.
Oh my goodness. Ziliax, Lich King. I mean, Righteous Protector, even in its own right. I mean, I don't think that Future Shock can go wrong. I honestly think the Lich King might be one of the weakest choices here, but just because you have Lifesteal or Divine Shield, and she chooses the Righteous Protector. How interesting.
It almost adds a little bit of insult to injury here because you've got this big Undasta that has to deal damage to, you know, these piddly little 1-attack minions. But that's gonna not be quite what she wants here. It's gonna give her...
Oh, Tundra Rhino is a good pickup. That's a great pickup though, because then but she has to make it... Oh no, doesn't work like that. I was thinking she'd have enough mana left over, but she does not. Lifesteal
Rush though?
Oh
man.
All of this. Taunt Poisonous, that feels pretty good too. I mean, oh my gosh. I like the lifesteal though, I think, in this situation.
I think she might need it because think about where she is on board right now. She's got 8 health left versus the 8 damage that Future Shock has on board currently. So we'll see what comes... Oh, that's totally going to come... Oh, she has plenty!
Yes.
Run! She has plenty of mana because Undasta is still on board. How did we miss that?
Yes, of course. Yes, but she doesn't get the lifesteal off of this, but she is going to be able to push more damage face if she wants. She can't push it face.
Nope.
Oh, what a game. It comes down to Leroy being in hand.
No.
Leroy, she almost gets there. Well played. Oh my goodness.
That would have been intense if Pathra was able to take this around, but Run, I'm trying to crunch the numbers. If Patra had actually ended up choosing to pair that Tundra Rhino with the stubborn gastropod, would that have been enough health on board with that taunt to be able to stave off lethal and
I
put
don't
that in her
believe so,
favor?
Nekkra, just because she did have the blessing of something Maul in hand. So
Yeah.
between that and then the minions being able to clear, sitting at that would have been 6-2 going into the face, as well as the Maul is 8 damage. I believe she would have been able to clear that, if I'm not mistaken. 1, 2. Oh, oh
That's what I'm
no,
saying. There was
yeah,
eight. So if you had
she would
paired
have
the
been.
Tundra Rhino with the stubborn gastropod, that is 8 health. That is an 8 health
Mhm.
taunt minion that you would have to work through. And so I
Man.
think that takes 6 damage from Leroy. You had a couple more minions on board. I think that would have saved Patra the game. And if she had been able to take that, the odds were
Mhm.
so good for her against the Malagos Druid and the Secret Odd Mage that Future Shock had left. But I
Yes.
think Future Shock, now comes down to an odd paladin matchup here.
Yeah, so that did put Future Shock up 2-0.
Yep.
Excellent play there. This is going to come into a mirror match. It'll be very interesting to see how this ends up working out. I didn't have a chance to look over the deck list too much on this, Nekkra. Did you have a chance to look and see if there was any major differences in these two?
I think the major differences is that I want to say that Future Shock is running a couple more mechs, but I don't quote me on
Mm-hmm.
that because I also have not gotten a chance to thoroughly look over the deck list as much as I would have liked to. I've been very busy
Okay.
with casting
Yeah.
Overwatch this weekend.
Um,
So it's just all Blizzard all weekend. It's great.
I did manage. It's amazing, and I'm sure this went really well. I did manage to get these pulled up real quick. It does look like Future Shock chose to go with the Witch's Cauldron in hers as well,
Interesting.
where Patra has more of an early minions with the Curious Veteran and the Argent Squire. There's a
Yeah.
Photon on Future Shock side, so it does look a little bit more mid-rangey on Future side versus a very aggressive opener with Patra.
So that's gonna so if we think about it in terms of like aggressive versus mid range here, look at Patra's hand right now. That's
Patra's
aggressive.
hand is aggressive, and also what you absolutely 110% want to see in this mirror matchup every single time, which is the divine shield maul. If you can get that, your board is going to stick and survive, and you're able to clear theirs. And once that comes down and you have a board and they don't, you have lost as an odd paladin. So this is amazing, unless Purifier's Maul. There we go. Unless she picks up Future Shock, picks up her own Purifier's Maul, she's gonna really struggle in this matchup.
Oh, you could say that again. Because that Divine Shield's going to do a lot to make sure that Patra's Void is very, very sticky here. But Future Shock has a lot of potential in the later parts of the game now. You see the Frostwolf, Warlord, the Corridor Creeper, the Vine Cleaver. This is a hand that we've seen before from Future Shock, and she makes very, very good use of it when we actually see mana get to that point where she can utilize those cards. But as of
Mm-hmm.
right now, Patra has all the momentum here.
Yes, and this looks very similar to last game. I think we actually had this exact draw at one point where we had the Frostwolf, the Corridor Creeper, and the Vine Cleaver in hand. So that probably doesn't feel great. We do see that she picks up her own maul, and fortunately, I cannot see which one it is. Nekkra, can you see which one that is here?
Yes, that is the Blessed Maul that is going to be an extra +1 attack to all of the minions on Future Shock's board when that Maul is equipped. Talk to me about that matchup, though, between the Blessed Maul versus the Purifier's Maul.
Unfortunately, it's not a great one. When you have a bunch of 1 health, 2 health minions on the board, the Purifier Maul just wins every time because it's able to, kill off your board very easily. And we do see she does reach for it. Not only do these minions get the Divine Shield, she also now has the weapon to leave a Divine Shield open. But the only difference here is that weapon's being used really early. You know, that Purifier Maul, she could build a board here potentially and get that down and be able to clear out a lot of minions that no longer have the Divine Shield. So that this is going to be an interesting race on that side of it, Nekkra.
It is going to be an interesting race. And it looks like Pathra is ahead in this one so far, just based on the current board presence. But don't count out Future Shock because she's come out with some amazing late game plays from the last two sets that we just saw in this matchup. And that Corridor Creeper coming down is going to be a force to be reckoned with here as well.
Mm-hmm. That Corridor Creeper can very easily clear up lots of small minions. And then on top of that, being able to hit that hero power, it really helps. And we don't see a whole lot of great stuff in Patra's hand now. This is not exactly where you want to be. You can't build a bigger board. You know, that Corridor Creeper coming down, you'd really like to see your own. However, Blessing of Might does allow her to be able to clear this somewhat nicely. Being able to make it to a 4-man or 4, well, pretty much anything that she wants to do. But we do see her reach to go for the dude there. I'm interested to see what her thought process is here.
I'm thinking. I think it's just running away with the board. I think she's trying to set it up for a big turn with that raid leader in hand and just be able to kind of get some extra damage out. So right now, if all of this sticks, which it's not going to because you know that Future Shock's going to be looking to clear something on Patra's side with that Corridor Creeper, you've got 4, 6, 8 damage that might be left if she doesn't use anything else in hand.
You know, I actually really like this play after seeing Patra's thought process. She cleared the dudes, which means that that Divine Shield is pretty hard for Future Shock to clear out. That means 4 damage is going to go face. It gives her the ability to clear this Tar Creeper if she didn't trade into it very cleanly now. I really like that. Oh, and we see her Maul coming into hand. I mean, value here.
That's even better because now that you think about the state of the board, Patrick can get really aggressive here. If you use that Blessed Maul, that extra damage sticks to every single minion on board. Whereas with the raid leader, you can clear that, and it's just a temporary buff. So we'll see what happens here. It looks like she's just going to try to go for, Patrick's being patient is what I'm noticing here. Trying to make sure that she gets those clears off, and then there it is.
And we can just see how that Divine Shield Maul and Purifier's Maul, how that really helped Patra get the board and just keep the board. And then with this Purifier's Maul, or I'm sorry, this golly gee whiz, with this Blessed Maul coming out, it's such a big deal. And look at that. She was able to do so much damage, over 13 damage on that over 3 turns, if I'm not mistaken. That is a big deal. And this Frostwolf Warlord is a huge pickup here as well, being able to hero power. But we do see she is going to try to push this damage face. I love this play. Very heads up.
This would have been 11. Yeah, this would have been 11 total damage if she had all rushed it at face. But she's thinking right now whether or not she wants to clear this last dude off the board, and I like that she's really playing patiently here. She's taking her time to decide all of the options that she has, counting that damage. Vine Cleaver is going to be able to come out next turn, and is there anything that Future Shock can do at this point to be able to deal with this board? With this damage.
If you're sitting in Future Shock's position, this looks abysmal. I mean, she's got, even after you take that off, that War Leader off, she still has 6 damage on the board after with the weapon clear, and you have no taunts in hand. We do see that she has a Frost or a Vine Cleaver in hand. There's a lot of buff minions. A Leroy leaves you dead on board, and she has to wonder if that's not in Patra's hand right now. So it's a tough place to be in. I mean, she's going to be able to clear off so that there's no lethal this turn. But after that, I mean, again, there's just not a lot of taunts in this deck. You've got 2 Righteous Protectors and 2 Stonehills, and that's it.
Let's see if this is going to be enough here. That Vine Cleaver is going to, I think, That's gonna seal the deal. This is exact lethal right now.
Yes,
That's
there it
game.
is. And yeah, because I wasn't accounting for that damage from she took with the weapon. So yes, that's it. So we do see Patra take down the odd paladin mirror, but that means that Patra has to take this odd paladin and reverse sweep with it. What are her odds looking at the matchups that are left?
She
Do you
has great odds against the secret odd mage that Future Shock has as one of the other decks in her lineup, but she has 35% chance of beating the Malagos Druid. And remember, Run, you and I got a chance to cast a Malagos Druid a little bit ago, and we doubted it. But this might be what Future Shock needs in order to stay in this and go on to another last year standing match.
Yes, and with the Malagos Druid, you can just armor up and armor up, and you have various ways to just clear boards. Spreading Plague is, especially since there's no Void Ripper in Patra's deck, this could be it for Patra if that Spreading Plague comes out early. But that being said, we have seen Odd Paladins just come out and clobber these slower combo decks. So it's going to be a matter of Patra getting the right mulligan, and this is a great start. Unidentified Maul and Corridor Creeper in hand and an Argent Square. Those feel great. Blessing of Fight is just about the best combo that you can get here, I think.
Yeah, and you're gonna get that Divine Shield back as well. So Patra really rolling the shields, and that's great because that means those minions are gonna stay around for a while. But Future Shock is going to have a lot to be able to deal with this later on. Look at the ramp that she has in her hand right now. She's got a coin. She's got 2 innervates. She's gonna be able to get something out really big when it's going to count, and I bet you it's gonna be that Spreading Plague. But Twig of the World Tree looking great as well.
I mean, if you could,
I know you saved that
turn, though. Yeah, you gotta. Well, I mean, that might be an option for her if she's not. If things aren't going crazy, you've got that weapon to kind of pick off some of these dudes. But and this is a Maul, Purifier Maul in a lot of matchups feels really good. However, here knowing that Future Shock can Spreading Plague a large board is going to be, where you would have preferred to see maybe the Blessing or some other Maul here than that pickup, but it's not a bad one. So knowing that Spreading Plague is a thing, Petra, how do you as an Odd Paladin maneuver this matchup? Do you try to keep your board as small as you can, or do you just try to push as much damage face as you can as fast as you can? What do you think?
So I can see too, I see the value behind both of those trains of thought, but the one that sticks out to me is just kind of finding that balance between widening the board but also making it tall. So I would expect that we're going to see these fungal mancers doing a lot of work here and also trying to get as many trades off as possible when they can, but Future Shock's already looking next turn to be able to put down that Spreading Plague, and that's going to be huge.
Yes.
Absolutely monstrous.
And then a Branching Path coming into hand here.
Oh,
I mean,
goodness.
I almost feel like Future Shock can be a little bit more patient here. Try to get Patra to widen that board one more time. Or she has the option of just go ahead and
she's going for it
now. And I don't blame her a bit. The Spreading Plague followed up by that Branching Paths just feels good if you're the Malagos Druid. So, I mean, I've been lethal more times than I can count, unfortunately, by a Spreading Plague Branching Paths in these last few metas, because not expecting Malagos to be out there, and then suddenly it is.
Yeah. Ron, that's too many scarabs for me. Like, I saw way too many of those things crawling across the board. I would just, like, turn around, not pass go here. But, Patra's going to be trying to figure out the best way to deal with this, and I absolutely love the way that she set up her board, because she's able to sandwich the Fungal Mancer with those Divine Shield minions to start clearing off some of these.
Yes, and I love her use of it here. She's really some heads up play with the divine shield, and making sure she got rid of that in that dude in the middle first. So I like it a lot. She really did a good job, and this board is much more manageable now. Over a couple turns, she's gonna be able to clear it. The only downside that we can really see for Patra is there's just so many things in hand that can, make things happen. And then also picking up that UI just to, be able to for card draw here. It's kind of a rough position if you're in Patra's spot. What do you do here in future shocks? Even just do you sit back and wait, or like what is your thoughts?
I mean, Future Shock's going for it. You're going to see her decide to utilize Twig of the World Tree already, going to clear out that Righteous Protector that got buffed by the Fungal Mancer. And this is just control on the board right now for Future Shock. There's still a massive wall that Pathra is going to have to get over, and it's not an easy climb, that's for sure.
No, it's not. And we do see her reach down for that corridor creeper at 0 mana. Does feel pretty good. However, she puts it back. One of these days, I'm not going to call these things out till they actually go on board. But that day will come sooner or later.
It's what we call the caster's curse, Run. It's just you say things the way you wish that they would be, and sometimes they just don't end up that way. But it's because these players really are weighing out all of the options that they see here, and that's the level of Hearthstone that we expect with the at the grand finals of the Badass Women of Hearthstone tournament.
Yes, for sure. I mean, if you're sitting here in future shock's position, your health isn't great if something were to get through. But what other options do you have? I mean, do you play defensively? Do you sit back here? Do you get armor with that branching paths? Do you give your minions some push? What is it you think that future is running through future shock's brain right now?
I think that Future Shock is just trying to take it easy. She's been very cool, calm, and collected in the face of this onslaught that Patra's trying to put on board. And so, why not armor up now? Why not start moving towards getting Twig of the World Tree to be able to pop and get value from that extra 10 mana that's going to come out of it. Use resources here. Make sure that you're not going to burn cards from playing UI at some point. You're just trying to get to the end game, which is going to be all that mana.
Yes. Forgive me, sorry, I was having some technical difficulties here. Yeah, and we can see this hand on Pathra's side is just terrible. I mean, it's not terrible what's in it, but just the size of it and being able to push damage. Now, this is a big pickup. The Stonehill can really get you some stuff going if she gets the right pickup. Oh, but not what we'd want to see. A Tyrion would have been nice. A Tarim, any of those. The Sunwalker, the Righteous Protector aren't bad, but they're just not enough to get damage push.
Not yet. But let's wait and see what happens, because now we're looking at a point where Patra's picking apart this wall brick by brick, scarab by scarab, and that's going to be just one less obstacle to be able to start getting some damage onto Future Shock. But Future Shock now starting to ramp up with that armor. But look at what we're looking at really soon from Future Shock. We've got the Alexstrasza. We have the UI. And all the late game potential.
The UI is going to be huge here. Being able to pick up some armor, be able to draw the cards, as well as destroy something and put a 5/5 on the board. And she's still a couple turns from that, and that's going to be harder for Future Shock. If Patra is able to start putting some pressure on her, into the next 2 turns, this game could end with a win for Patra. I mean, she's only sitting at 22 health. Oh man!
Oh, that top deck run!
That's how you do it. That's how you do it right there. Is top decking that. I mean, I like it. She knows she can't go super wide on this board, and that's a tall minion that's hard to kill and do that. But we do see that naturalize in hand, but that's going to push a lot of damage. I like both options she's weighing. Sunwalker, hero power, if she doesn't have the second spreading plague in hand, can be a lot. But she's just going to go ahead and push this damage, and I don't blame her a bit, Nekkra. I don't blame her a bit. Down to
No.
13 health.
Yeah, and even with that naturalize potentially finding its mark on the Stormwind champion, that's extra resources that Pathra gets to potentially draw from.
Mm-hmm.
You might see the second raid leader come into hand. There's just been some ridiculous
Or
top decks here.
Leroy,
so.
or
Oh, no.
I mean, a divine. Oh,
yeah,
and
there it is. I told you. I called it.
Yes, a second. That's huge. Now she is going to armor up for a couple here, but still, I mean, that's just not where you want to be. She could potentially put down the oh my goodness, the tyrant there, but that still doesn't do that much for you. And we can see double raid leader coming down. That's what, 9, 12 damage that could go onto the board, or go to face. My apologies. There's
yeah.
man,
I mean, double raid leader here. So let's do the math really quickly. Yeah, that's 12 damage, and right now futureshock is sitting at 17.
Yes. Woo.
Man.
We're on the edge of our seats yet again. How does this keep happening, Nekkra?
I like the choice, though, to take out the Actress Veteran. You had to. That would have been an additional 2 damage that you're staving off now because you decided to clear that off. But, that taunt is looking mighty fine. So is that raid leader. Just continue.
Self back up no matter how much damage she takes this turn. But Patra's got to be thinking, how do I maximize my damage now? And I like this. I think that she's going to push face. She's going to build another board. And it's going to be tough. The only thing that futureshock can really see here is just another spreading plague.
I mean, that would be a ridiculous top deck if futureshock was able to get that. But no, we're not going to see either of those. We're going to see Alexstrasza, and you might actually see Alexstrasza coming in for futureshock. Go ahead and utilize that last twig of the... Oh, wait. Yeah, wait. This is an interesting situation because you can ally, you can use Twig of the World Tree, and then you can UI.
Oh, wow. It is. Yes, we forgot Twig has been sitting here this whole time. So she's actually going to be able to do this. And then the Floop actually becomes a 3/4. So if the damage gets to be too much, she can re-UI her face, or re-Malygos her face if she needs to, or push counter damage by putting Pathra at 15. What a turn. Twig, you have come in so big here.
Yeah, and you're gonna see the resources that futureshock has been waiting for. Yet again, patience is being rewarded. 2 swipes in hand. You've got a branching paths. Futureshock is in this yet. I think the Alexstrasza, you're not totally maximizing the amount of health that you're regaining from that turn, but
yeah,
that Twig of the World Tree was played at the exact right moment with these cards.
But this Stonehill is a super interesting pickup for Pathra. I mean, there's a lot that can be done here. Like we can see double swipe is in hand, so really the damage needs to go as much to face this turn probably as she can, but saving resources is good too. So I don't know. If you're Pathra, there's so many lines here. I don't even know what she's going to do. I just can't wait to see.
I'm so excited, Run. I am, like, my eyes are bright with just excitement from watching this amazing Hearthstone play. But, Pathra is really taking her time here. She's trying to calculate every single bit of damage that she possibly can. And this is going to be just another push to face, hoping that Sunwalker is going to be enough to mitigate the rest of this damage and hopefully get her one step closer. But she's about to feel the power of the Druid with that swipe, like, for sure.
I mean, there's a lot here that naturalize being in hand. She's got the naturalize, she's got the Malygos to be able to actually push 12, 13. Actually, is that lethal if she goes that route? If she naturalizes the Sunwalker, and then if she plays the 3/4, puts her down to 15, then she's able to swipe, correct? If I'm not mistaken, that's how that would work, right? She would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if she sees that, if she naturalizes the Sunwalker,
Yeah.
then the Malygos brings Patra down to 15. Oh, but I don't think she sees it, and she chooses to go ahead and swipe now. I think there's several ways to roam here. I don't know that she's necessarily wrong in any of them. But I do think that was a missed lethal. But I'm not 100% on that.
I'm trying to think now too. So that was 13 damage on board. The naturalize would have let that 13 go to face, and then there was 8 burst damage in hand from the double swipe. That would have been lethal. But yeah, she needed that was 9 mana.
Well, we'll have to go back in later games and see what ends up actually coming out. But that was super interesting there. Amani Warbear, Terrene Warrior, and Trog Gloom Eater. I don't know about any of these choices, but what do you think is the best choice here, Nekkra, with her game plan?
Well, if I'm Patra, I'm worried about the fact that I am at 11 health and I need to be able to take out the either, the Alexstrasza or the Ghoul Infester. I have some feeling that she's going to want to try to do some damage. The Rush might be good here. Trog Blue Meter might also, because that would be just a one-stop shop for getting rid of Allie. If Futureshock doesn't really have a way to deal with it, but this is a tough call run, and you can see that Patra's having a hard time deciding with it as well.
Yes, there's these aren't the options you necessarily want to see. The Trog is slow because there's ways that maybe she could clear it. The Amani dies on the board if there's other things that Allie could still go face for 8. So I think she was right in what she chose, but I think this is game here for her.
See another spreading plague here. That's the question that I want to know. You got
Yes.
naturalized for one of these,
but you can swipe
and
face.
swipe. No, that's it.
Yeah,
that is
there was
it.
several. So she ends up taking this series here. It's 3-1 with a crazy turn of events, if you will. Wow.
That was incredible. And guess what this means, Run?
What does this mean, Nekkra?
We get to see a whole nother set.
Ooh, yay. Oh, these players are so good. Guys, are you in chat right now just going crazy over this because these plays were amazing? Like I am. I am going nuts. I'm so excited to see this. We're going to see all of the same matchups again. Now, Nekkra, do they have to keep the same bans? Or do they get to reban if they'd like?
I'm not entirely sure of the answer of that one. So we're gonna check. Our little birdie in our ear is gonna let us know whether or not we can tell you one way or the other. But Run, I know that chat was going absolutely insane when they saw that Undasta pickup for Patra. That was just crazy. We saw some just big plays.
Good. It's been so good. These matchups are insane. These players are so good. I'm not gonna lie to you, Nekkra. I am so excited that we're going to game 2. I know Pathra would have loved to have sealed the deal there, but I can't wait. Futureshock is making this a finals to be remembered. Undasta and Malygos, and I don't even know Nekkra. I'm just too excited. I can't even say your name right.
all the names that end with A. But this is just a great way to kick off the inaugural season of the Badass Women of Hearthstone. Mm-hmm. We have had an amazing season. We crowned an EU victor last weekend. And
yes, we did.
This has just been a phenomenal, I think, experience for everybody involved. What a good learning experience. And it's so amazing that we've got this community to be able to have this kind of tournament and that you guys are all so supportive of this type of play.
Yes. And I'm afraid that I am drawing a blank on the EU champion. Is it Margaret.
Yeah.
I'm horrible at names, and I am so sorry, girl, but you are awesome. Congrats. Now, remind me, Nekkra and Birdie in our ear, what is the prize pool for today? What are Future Shock and Pathra competing for?
Well, I know they're competing for pride. That's number one, right?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so the birdie in
But
our ear just
bigger
informed us
prize than
it's
that.
for first place $1,000, which I could definitely use at this moment.
Oh yeah.
Who couldn't? And a ticket to DreamHack. I mean, like if they weren't planning on going, they have to go now. You have $1,000 to get you there. You're gonna go in style.
Yeah, you're gonna go in style, and you're gonna be going to represent this amazing community that we've
Heck
all
yeah.
been following along for the last couple of months. So that's just a really nice kind of cherry on top of the cake, or whatever dessert you think this kind of grand finals is. But we're
Yes.
just waiting now, I believe, for these players to reban.
Ban.
Um,
Okay, they are
so
gonna reban.
yeah, and that only makes sense, like we don't want to see the same thing twice run.
Right.
We're here to get grand finals times two, which means we want to see a whole new set of games. We want to be able to see another, four, potentially five set match. So I think both of these players are kind of going to go into it and really reconsider what their matchups look like. So we saw that Patra started out with the Mecha Warlock. And I
Yes,
think that
Mexican.
she was trying to work with that because it's worked so well for her in the past, just because she understands that deck really well. As she's just she just gets it.
Yeah.
It was very clear that she understood what that matchup was supposed to look like. I think she just got unlucky with the card draw there. But
Yeah, definitely. I think that the reason that she chose to go with that one first is the fact that it was her weakest deck out of the three when you looked at the statistics.
yeah.
With it having a 75-25 versus I think the Secret Odd Mage, and 80-20 versus the Odd Paladin. I mean, those are not the kind of
No.
matches you really want. So if you can squeak out a win with that early, then that makes your road to victory a lot easier. So I think that's why she went ahead and queued that one up first. Very heads up play on her part. So I don't know if we'll see the same bands again. Very interesting. But Nekkra, this will be the third time that these decks and these players have run against each other with very different outcomes.
Yeah.
And you've got the very first time Patra actually 3-0ing Future Shock. This time we've had Future Shock 3-1 Patra. So very different, same decks. I don't know if they're the different bands, unfortunately, unless our production knows. I don't know if the bands are any different, and it will be different. If this third time than they were the last two times. I don't know,
You
but
know
isn't
what?
that Hearthstone for you?
It is Hearthstone. It's a dynamic game with a lot of possibilities. And I want to talk a little bit about something that actually kind of surprised me about the beginning ban. So we saw that in this very first set of the grand finals that Future Shock ended up banning Patra's Clone Priest. But interestingly enough, the Death Rattle Hunter that Patra is running has better odds against Malagos Druid as well as Secret Odd Mage. So isn't it weird that Future Shock decided to ban the Clone Priest instead of a deck that
Has better.
has just better odds?
Well, I think, both of us being Hearthstone players ourselves, there are just decks you can't beat.
That's true.
Like, statistically, you're supposed to win every single time. There's this
Yeah.
like 90-10. It's like Quest Rogue versus Secret Mage of old. It was a 90-10.
Yeah.
And yet, sometimes there are people that just cannot win those matchups. And maybe that's what it is. Sometimes it's user handle that creates the bans. We want to look at the stats and we want to say, hey, this doesn't match up well at all. But if you as a player can't beat a deck or struggle it or know that they can just, and we've seen that. We actually saw that with Teebs and Solissa, where that cloning gallery priest, even though it was unfavored in a couple of them, it just, Teebs top decked the right card at the right time to be able to hit a massive lethal, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I don't mind the cloning gallery ban there. It's definitely a user's choice, but we know how crazy that deck can be.
I
So
mean, I'm remembering a couple of metas ago where Priest just absolutely dominated. We saw it, Priests left and right. Every single iteration of Priest was good, and that made me so sad. And now that Priest kind of disappeared from the meta, I'm just like, I would like to see a Priest again. Interesting how the
yeah.
tables have kind of turned
You
in that
know,
regard.
I mean, it's one of those things. You think, oh, I want to see Priest again, and then you get Cloning Gallery, and then you get Control, and then you get this new Wall Priest that's actually hit the meta in the last couple of days, and you're just kind
Yeah.
of like, I don't know if I really want Priest back anymore.
I take that back. I'm gonna take back that initial thought that I had about wanting to see Priest again.
Yes. I don't know, but Druid is also. I've seen some Druid on the ladder. It's not doing great, but I've seen it. And maybe myself, I brought a little bit of taunt just to see if it would work. I'm not saying Druid is making a comeback, but there are some token Druids out there. People
Yeah.
trying to make Druid make it happen. We'll see. Not sure if I'm ready. Not ready if I'm ready for Druidstone to come back. But Nekkra, I did want to talk about some of the other players that made the top 8.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
We haven't really talked about how the standings ended up finishing. We had some fantastic players in this. We had Celissa, we had Kara Cute. Hopefully I say all these right. We had, and those tend to be teams. Those tend to be more of our household bad A women
True
names. Like those names. We also had some up and comings like I Orchestrate and Dragon Rider.
Yeah.
DK, like those players were absolutely fantastic. Were there any upsets, Nekkra, that you weren't anticipating?
Those players that has just been extraordinary. She
Mm-hmm.
played in WSOE with some of the other household names that we have here in the Baddest Women of Hearthstone tournament that made the top 8, and she just has been such a firecracker on the scene. So
Yes.
that was one player that really did stand out to me that I think really could have taken it a long way.
Yeah, I agree. Edelweiss actually, I believe in Oakland, was in the top 16. I know she's in the top 16. I'm not quite sure where she plays.
Yeah.
So she's got like she's up there with all of these really great names. Um, and there. That being said, like I'm surprised she didn't make it either. But there were so many good. Nasil was an excellent player that I actually got to face in the Swiss rounds and lost to. And she took ninth out of 5-3. There were
Wow.
several 5-3s that didn't make it. Unfortunately, my score did not get me into the top 8 as well at 5-3. But you had other great players like Audrey Kills was in there, and I'm trying to think. There's just so many amazing
Ali
women that ended up
Straza.
playing. Ali Straza took 11th. Yeah, I mean, and like what bigger name can you get there than Ali Straza? So,
That's true.
but there were so many excellent players in this tournament. I'm really excited to see. I had no idea when we first started Nekkra. I had no idea there would be enough women to even have a tournament that were playing. That tells you how few women I knew that were actively out there on Twitter and out there on social media saying I'm playing. And then the tournament started. And all of these women from all over the place came in. And I think there was over 50 women participating, and that's just absolutely nuts. And then I realized, oh my gosh, there's so many big names in Hearthstone
Yeah.
that are women, and I really hope that we see more women compete in the next one. Seeing that this format, and how welcoming everybody is, and how it's just a great place to hone your skills and have a lot of encouragement and meet some really fantastic women. I got the chance to do production with Elu. I got to cast with Trick or Treat. All of these just
Yeah.
fantastic people. I got to talk to Kat, and we're hopefully gonna, Katrina HS. We're hopefully gonna cast in the future. So it's a
That'd be
great
great.
format. And we haven't even talked about EU, about the amazing players over there. So I feel like I could go on and on about this. So I will throw it back to you. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention as we're waiting for the players' bands?
Well, before we get into that, because we can talk about the EU division, we want to just apologize really quickly for that brief disconnect there. I think we lost a little bit of a connection, but we're back, hopefully, and we get to talk a little bit more about some of the other players in the other division. I started casting Hearthstone with the WESG online qualifiers. So I know names like Baby Bear, like Lights, and
Mm-hmm.
those are players that I got just the privilege to be able to watch battle it out for a spot in the WASG Grand Finals. And that's just amazing to me that they had women's divisions as well for these
Mm-hmm.
online qualifiers. And amazing that we're seeing all of these players meet up now to be able to play in the Badass Women of
I
Hearthstone tournament.
know. And it really shows the talent level. Baby Bear making the top 8, and I cannot remember if Lights did or not. But then you have Katrina, who actually took #1 on both the NA and the EU server this last
What a
season.
beast. It's
I
amazing.
know, right? And she accomplished that. And I was speaking with Lorinda about it. I don't know that anybody else has actually ever done that. Period. And
Yeah,
so the fact that we have
huge.
one of those players, playing in our EU division is just like mind blown. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just tells you the talent of the people. I try to think of some of the other big names. I mean, there's just so many, and them competing. And I think Kat ended up taking third, fourth there. Uh, man, I cannot remember. This is terrible, but that EU division was just incredible. They all played so well, and
Yeah.
I got so lucky to be able to be a part of the EU division as well and learn so much more about those women. So.
Yeah, I one thing that I do regret is not being able to be more involved and interactive within the community because I get pulled in so many different directions, but it's such a privilege to be able to be here, to be able to cast now, and I can't wait to get started with the second and final, potentially yeah, this is
This
match
is the
point.
final.
This
Mhm.
is it all
This
comes down
is
to this run.
the game. This is the whole enchilada. This is the
The
whole box
whole
of Girl
enchilada.
Scout Thin Mint cookies that I love. Oh, sorry, I'm random.
Oh,
But yes,
cookies.
this is it. We are just waiting for those players to ban. Probably they need a bathroom break and maybe some water. I know I'm in the same boat there. So
Oh yeah.
thanks for bearing with us as we're on this break. But we're so excited. We do, now is probably a great time to mention that if you want to support the Bad A Women of Hearthstone, there's several ways to do it. You can subscribe here on the Twitch channel. I believe there's a Patreon. Is that correct, or is it a GoFundMe? I'm sure that we have an excellent mod in chat that may be able to link that for us. But you can, show your support, join the Discord, follow on Twitter for all of the different ways that did it. We want to throw a huge shout out right now to several people as we're waiting for this game to get queued up. We wanted to, I'm going to butcher it, and she knows I'm going to butcher it. So to the Epic Etheria, who saw that she wanted to continue on with Toast the Badger's idea of this, bad A women. And, she had this brainchild. She found the people to make it work. People like Nia, if I'm saying that right. People like Storm Fever and a giant community of people that were said, yes, we will,
Yes.
so we couldn't have done it without her really being that driving force and Nia being that driving force. So thank you guys for giving us this place to come together, this tournament. We know you worked super hard. People like John, the pharmacy,
Yeah.
making sure that the matches are scheduled and streamed. Big thank you to all of our production, people like Elu, people like Robobson, to our little bird in
Brasky.
the ear, Brasky, Cindy, or CinderAscendant, is our production today right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Our mods in the chat, like Seven and Storm Fever. Thank you guys so much. And on that note, let's see if we've had any words on the ban, Nekkra.
That I have not actually gotten a chance to see yet. So we're still going to be working on it, and I guess it means that these players are really taking their time because there's a lot on the line. Let's remind everybody that both of these players are playing for $1,000 and a trip to DreamHack, with via ticket. I'll say that. But I'm sure that
Right.
that $1,000 does help you actually get there. But anyone else going to DreamHack, I think I heard you mention something about that run. Are you gonna go?
Yes. So DreamHack Dallas is around the corner, and luckily, it's not
Yes.
all that far from me. So I am going to make sure that I get there. Hopefully, we haven't heard word that there is going to be a Hearthstone tournament yet. However, with the announcement
Holding out
of
hope.
I know, right? With
Holding
that
out hope.
announcement going out on the 19th, though, hopefully, so we're only a little over a week away.
That's
Hopefully,
9
that
days.
will, I know, get the land side of Hearthstone rolling. Even if HCT Blizzard are not going to do it, hopefully DreamHack will still continue to have those land tournaments for pro players and, well, anybody really for that matter. So if you're
Yeah.
close enough, go compete. It's awesome.
Well, because the thing about that, and something that I love about the Hearthstone community and the LAN circuit, is that you get to see these people that you have met online, created connections with in person, and that can mean so much. I remember that I ended up actually at HCT Philly. I competed. I lost some just incredible players. I played against Boston. I played against HCT. Like phenomenal names, right? Like I say
Right.
these, and you just go, "Oh yeah, no, I get it."
Yeah.
But, it's like it was really fun to be able to meet those kinds of people in person. I met
Mhm.
Jetla, I met some of the other boars, and that was just really fun for me, knowing that there is such a strong community behind that. So I do hope that if Blizzard does go into the direction of doing online qualifiers, that we'll still be able to have those LAN tournaments to be able to connect with each other and just grow as a community. But there
Right.
is one aspect of onlines that I do like in that they're accessible.
Mhm.
So we all know that traveling in Hearthstone can be very expensive because you have to pay for a flight if you don't have a sponsor, the hotel. Maybe you need to buy some new cards to be able to stay current. So it all
Yes.
adds up. And if you're not sponsored by a team to be able to go to some of those, it can be very, very expensive to come out of your pocket.
Yes, and then not to mention the fact that these online qualifiers not only are they accessible, they're often.
Yeah.
So going to lands, it there's no experience like it. It's such a good experience. However, it's an expensive experience if you're not sponsored by a team.
Yeah.
You go and you play, and I've been able to play at three, and every single time my score has gotten better, but I still haven't topped. You know, and so the fact that I haven't been able to get as much tournament experience because there's just, I live in the middle of nowhere. There's just not a whole lot of tournaments going on.
It's hard.
The fact that now you're going to be able to go to an online qualifier and you can compete in, well, I mean, we don't know what the format is yet, but maybe you can compete in like 3 to 5 a day, or who knows, if they go
It's
with like a
true.
one deck format, maybe you're doing 10 a day. Who really knows? like,
That's a lot of Hearthstone.
that is a lot of Hearthstone. But with the new, format coming out, it should be. I have a feeling these online qualifiers are going to be like boom, 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 boom. And they're saying they're running them all day, every day, so they'll fit your schedule.
Yeah.
That's pretty legit. So we'll just have to wait and see. This announcement on the 19th is really going to be a game changer for the Hearthstone scene, and I'm excited. I wasn't super excited when they announced they were going to do this because I love the LAN experience so much.
Of
But
course.
now that we're getting closer, I'm ready.
You
I'm
gotta find
ready.
the silver lining, right? Because that's the one thing that we don't want to see the Hearthstone scene is what happened to Heroes of the Storm, right? We don't want to see that kind of rug get swept out from under us. We want to be able to continue to have these experiences. So even if you aren't super thrilled about the announcement, you still
Mhm.
find what you can to be able to enjoy it and keep loving the game that
Yes.
we all love.
Yes. And I mean, that's the thing about this, is that even though a lot of people are very mad about the change, and
Yeah.
they don't like how it's pumping fresh blood into Hearthstone. A game that people love. I mean, look at your dream hacks, when you have 30,000 people watching, or an HTT event with all the people watching. But this now hopefully will bring in, oh, excuse me, this will hopefully bring in new players, and hopefully those pros will, be able to find online qualifiers and get into the tournaments that they, were going to anyway before. So we shall see what that will do. We're going to check in with production here just real quick and see if we have a time frame here for the final match.
Um, All right, looks like
Okay.
it's going to be a few more minutes, and I want to apologize because I think we told you guys a little bit of misinformation about the prize pool. So it sounds like it's actually 1,000 total for the top four that place in, and I believe each division.
Oh,
So you're already looking at prize money if you are Patra and Future Shock. So already
nice.
congratulations for that. And we can't wait to see what's going to come out from these bands. So as soon as we know, you guys will know. But thank goodness we have amazing individuals in chat that know this information and have been following this for as long as they have. So
Yes, and if you know me at all, that probably I usually mess up one or two little details. We call these the run things. It's okay, but we've always got somebody around to do quality assurance. So thank you guys in chat for doing that for us.
yes.
Now, what matchup, Nekkra, are you excited to see out of these? Is there any matchup that we didn't see or that you want to see again?
Yeah, I would love to see the hunter again, but we didn't get a chance to see any secret odd mage, and I would love to see that deck come out of the woodwork here for Future Shock, just because mage is another one of those classes that we haven't gotten a whole lot of game time with in the last couple of patches. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. Like, what was it? I think we was it House I think was it during House Rivalries together that we got a chance to see some sort of aggressive mage. I feel like it was.
I think that was actually the exhibition match that we saw between Audrey Kills and
You're
CinderAscendant.
right. Oh
It
yes,
was,
our producer.
yes,
Haha.
our producer. It was actually a tempo mage, which will be interesting. It was an Alaneth tempo mage, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it
Although, did we
was.
see Alaneth come down? I can't even remember. But yeah, mage is really like starting now that we're seeing less. Like after the nurse with the hunter, the secret hunter kind of going away, and with the even shaman going to the wayside, we've actually seen this rise in this odd secret mage, and it's a very fast, very aggressive deck. There's a ton of burn damage in it, and it's actually surprising how much burn there really is. If you think about it, you're running two cinder storms and two oh my goodness, arcane missiles, which
Yeah.
like is a running joke in Hearthstone about arcane missiles on one. But I mean, other than that, your other places that you're finding it is your hero power. You've got some buffs to the weapon with your daring fire eater. You've got the explosive runes, and that's really, and then you've got your, and I always say this wrong. If you come to my stream, you're going to hear me call it J Dog because I can never say it right. But
Oh,
it's
J-Dog.
uh, Jan the Dragon Hawk, okay? J Dog in my
Yeah,
stream.
yeah. I was
Um,
like,
Doing that, but
yes.
that's, I mean, it's this really interesting combination of early minion pressure and your hero power and burn. Like it's one third of everything, and It's just not what you think of when you think of burn mage, but that's kind of what it is a burn mage deck. So it's very interesting. That's one of the that was probably the card I was most excited to open in the expansion, and then played some big odd spell at or big odd mage, I guess if you will, in the very first few days, and hated it because I came into like 4 mirror matches and it took like 4 hours. But I'm really excited to see the rise of the mage. We haven't seen, gosh, probably in 6 months, really, besides Big Spell Mage, which has been almost a year since
Yeah, you
its
like
popularity.
I started playing Hearthstone in the season where you got the cupcake back. Like that's the one thing that I can remember about when I started to play.
That's
Is
awesome.
just cupcakes. And I started out with a mech mage. That was my
Oh,
favorite deck of all time. It still
Mech
is my
Mage.
favorite deck. I just loved the synergy with it. So it is really exciting to me to be able to see
The
Mage
Mage
again. So I
reemerge.
hope we get to see it again.
Yeah.
Ooh, hey, guess
Okay.
what, everybody? We've got some bans for you, which means that you can stop listening to us banter and actually get into some gameplay now. So it sounds like Patra is going to ban Future Shock's. Um, let's see. I totally just
So
missed it,
that's okay.
we
So
just
Patra's Priest is banned,
again,
and Future Shock's Hunter is banned.
again. Okay, so no changes here on our end. So I guess all of that talk before about potentially banning Patra's Death Rattle Hunter was all for naught there. So we'll see what both of these players decide to queue up for this next matchup. But we're going to be going into it as soon as these players are ready. Now that bans are done, this is it, folks. It's going to come down to this last set of last hero standing for Patra and Future Shock to see who's going to take home that $500 first place prize.
I'm super excited to see this matchup. It's been a long time coming. It feels like so many weeks of prep, so much hard work has gone into this. So, as soon as the players are ready and head back into game, we'll get started here.
Yeah, we will. Ah, can't wait. Sounds like we might not. Let's see. Okay, sounds like we might not get any game sound for you all, so we do apologize about that in advance because of the technical difficulties a little bit earlier. We are going to lose that capture of the sound um, because of the disconnect. We'll try to work on it while we're in game, but just so you guys have a heads up on what's going on our end of things, we'll be able to call it out for you though, so you'll know exactly. And you guys are champs. You guys are Hearthstone stars. You're gonna see it. You're gonna already know what it is. So that sound is just kind of the extra icing on the cake there.
And you get to hear our lovely voices. So, really, is it all that bad? No.
I personally don't like the sound of my own voice run. I got to admit that it's one of the hardest things as a caster, in my opinion, is just having to re-listen to your tapes and
I agree. I don't
have
think
to kind of go
anybody.
through and critique yourself because the only thing that I hear
Annoying
is
voice,
just
annoying voice, annoying voice.
yeah, it's just painful.
Yes, no, I understand that completely. I don't think anybody likes the sound of their own voice, but other people don't mind it at all. Nekkra, you have a very nice voice. Don't
Well,
worry
I
about it.
appreciate that. But it is just a personal preference, I suppose. Um it's just one of those things. But enough about that. Hopefully we're going to be getting into the game soon, but let's go with some predictions here, Run. So at the very first set where Run not you, sorry, where Patra where Patra and Future Shock, we were doing this to each other now, but Patra and Future Shock, the very first time that they saw each other, Patra ended up taking the series in the playoffs 3-0 with the Mechathune Warlock. Now the
Mhm.
tables are turned. Future Shock ended up taking this last set, for those of you that are just tuning in, 3-1. So it all comes down to this one and predictions. Are we going to see the same starts for both of these players? As a reminder, Patra started with the Mecha'thun Warlock, and we saw Future Shock start with the Odd Paladin.
So, I think that when I'm looking at the matchups here, these are both really great players. Statistically, Future Shock probably should take this. It's if you
Okay.
look at it and you go on to HS Replay and you make yourself a chart and you're looking at Patra, there's a whole heck of a lot of red on that and some red that you really don't want to see. However, I mean, the skill level and the card draw are what these end up coming down to, and who's playing. This is a long day for both players, especially for Future Shock, who
Oh,
had to
yeah.
fight her way through the bracket to get back onto the to get back onto the top to be able to be here. So fatigue could be a factor and whatnot. So I'm gonna go with Future Shock 3-2. How about you?
Oh, man. I'm gonna play devil's advocate then because I want to see this just be an exciting series. So let's go ahead and double the stakes there. I'm going to say that we're gonna see a repeat of first history. Patra's gonna take this.
Okay. Whew. Let's go. Let's go. I'm excited. All right. So right off the bat, we're gonna get that odd paladin mirror, and we know that a lot of the time this odd paladin mirror comes down to who gets the taunts first, who gets the better weapon for the scenario, and we don't see a maul in either hand. And actually, we do see blessing in both hands. That now, ooh, Nekkra, I just noticed Future Shock has the Witch's Brew. What is the card name?
Witch's Cauldron.
Witch's Cauldron.
It's
Stars in a
close
bucket.
enough. Yeah. It's close enough at this point. Everybody knows what that card looks like. And we talked about it before,
Yes.
Run, that this is an interesting tech that Future Shock is running in the deck that Patra is not. So to
Mm-hmm.
remind the audience about this odd paladin matchup here, Patra's running a little bit more of an aggressive variant with more of
Mm-hmm.
the Atris veterans. You have, more of just kind of like the one drops that Future Shock doesn't run. But Future Shock's hand is a lot better than what we've seen before in terms of value. We're not seeing all of those 5 and 7 drops coming into hand so early. She is going to have a very nice curve here moving into the later parts of the game, but Patra already getting value from that worm, corridor
Yes.
creeper.
Unfortunately, we still see with Future Shock the problems that she's had in this past. She keeps getting the Frostwolf. She keeps getting the Vine Cleaver into hand. Not really what you want to see. However, we do see that Stonehill come into hand. That can actually be a huge turn here if she decides to play it, which is Cauldron probably not getting as much value, or the Raid Leader right now. I do expect to see this the Stonehill come down, but these players are obviously really good and are unpredictable. So who really knows in this turn?
I mean, it's been unpredictable matchups even when we thought we knew the odds matchup well. So you can't count either of these players out because it does
Mm.
come down to sometimes what you just draw up the top of your deck. And we've seen some really good top decks for both Future Shock and Patra in this series. But I like the Stonehill Defender pick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I would actually go with here.
That Anoia module is oftentimes a really great pickup, just because it has Divine Shield as well as 4 health, which can be a lot harder to clear. It has the two. It allows you to move quicker into putting things down in turn 5. Moving into like a solid turn 6 if that's put down with the hero power. But the Rotten Apple Bomb restoring 4 health and having 5 is also a great pickup. So we do see she goes with that rotten apple bomb. I like it. Oh, and another corridor creeper in hand. That is so valuable here. Getting a large minion that can do damage for free, and getting it for free most of the time is just fantastic. So we can see again how that more aggressive lineup that Patra had here has been really quite good. She's able to put a lot of pressure early. And that's exactly what you need in this mirror match.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure now coming out from Patra's side too. Uh Let's see. What do you
The
think Future Shock is going to go with here? We've got some options. We have some smaller minions, the Fireflies, the Witch's Cauldron. I feel like you wouldn't put that out yet because you're not going to get the value from having
mm,
boards to kind of sacrifice
Yeah,
the
I
witch's
really
blood.
like this rotten apple bomb play. It's gonna slow Patra's board down. Although that raid leader, I've been calling him war leader all day, but that raid leader is a pretty good pickup. We know that there's not a whole lot of clear here, and that witch's cauldron can make such a huge difference in this matchup because there can be board clears, there can be healing,
Yeah.
there can be buff spells, but there's nothing on Future Shock's board to be able to get anything down. So this really is probably her best play, but the Fungalmancer coming down here is also excellent. She's able to clear that in one go, and now just push 7 damage to face. And Future Shock is just behind with no great ways to get going. However, Stonehill does come in hand again. You know, being able to put that Stonehill down, a Firefly, and Hero Power is a big deal here. Oh, and Tyrion's a great pickup as well. You know, Unpowered Steambot's just not what you want it to be with a zero
No.
9. And that little bitty Ironwood Grizzly just isn't looking great. But you're just thinking, do I even live to turn 8 to be able to, you know, get this on board? Is that 5/3 Ashbringer going to be all that great when I've got Vine Cleaver in hand? You know, it's just maybe not the best choice, but a 6/6 with Divine Shield seems a lot better here than maybe some of the other pickups that she could have gotten.
Yeah, I mean, she I mean, we're thinking about this and we're taking a long time to decide, but look at how long Future Shock is taking. Going all the way down to the rope to be able to see, you know, what her
Yeah.
options are. So it looks like that iron for Grizzly is going to be the poison here, as you will, and which is Cauldron gonna go down just to maybe get some value off of it from Stonehill Defender having to be cleared before any of this damage that Patra has on board goes face. But holy cow, is that a lot of damage on board
Mm.
just by itself is 14, and you've also got the Leroy in hand, the Stormwind champion. There
The raid
this is
leader,
a lot.
the
Ah, the
blessing.
blessing of might.
I mean, if this isn't lethal, it's looking pretty close to it. Put a blessings and on something 2, 4, 7,
20
10,
it's
16,
it's
19.
not
It's
enough.
so close though. I mean,
Yeah.
with Leroy in hand, you're holding on to that burst damage. She's This has got to feel really super scary to Future Shock. There's just not a whole lot you can do at this point, and you can see that maybe that choosing that Grizzly there, even though it wasn't her favorite probably choice, she may not make it to turn 8, and so that was probably a good call on Future Shock's part to go ahead and take the 3/3 Grizzly there. And she's gonna send
Mm.
all the rest of this face. My stars, 12 damage. Ouch.
I
Ouch,
mean,
ouch, ouch.
that's still a lot considering the amount of trade that Patra had to do there to be able to clear the Stonehill Defender as well as that Witch's Cauldron. So now, what can Future Shock even do here? You've got the Iron for Grizzly, which is a very small kind of blow to the wind,
Yeah.
as you will, because there's just so many ways for Patra to be able to deal with that as it sits on board. So, huh?
And which
I
mall
don't
came
know.
into hand there? Nekkra?
That's the Blessed Maul, and that's really not gonna help anything
Nope.
either, because if it had been the Divine Shield,
I
yeah,
mean,
I
if
mean,
it
you
had been
calculate it, they
cost,
just
you
can't.
might have been able to, put down 4 minions and pray. But
Yeah.
I mean that's exactly where we see how Patra, and I think this is the exact matchup that Patra probably had in mind. That's why she teched her deck to be a faster deck. She didn't mess around with the Witch's Cauldron. She didn't mess around with the more mid-rangey ones. She wanted this to be able to roll over any other odd paladins. She wanted to be able to roll over those hunters and things like that. And that's exactly what this has done. So now we're going into the Odd Pally Malagos. And remember, Patra is 33 or 35% favored here. So this is a rough matchup for Patra.
It is a rough matchup, and we saw that this matchup before in that very first set of the grand finals. This didn't go in Patra's favor. And
No.
Future Shock's in an even kind of better position now because you've got the swipe early on, as well as the naturalize. Alex Draws is not going to help you out too much, but Patch is in a decent position to start kind of putting some board presence here.
Yes. But look at this pickup, though. But you see, Patra did not even bother to mulligan here. And the reason being
I
is
know.
that you have that Blessing of Might, Argent Squire, and the Righteous Protector with the Maul. Those are exactly what you want to see. You know, you get that Argent Squire down, you get that Maul. It's really hard for a Druid to be able to clear, especially if you've made them use a few of their board clears to start out with, like their swipes, which they don't want to do. They want to hold those for damage late in the game with the Malygos, or other things. So it's a particularly sticky minion. So I like that she kept everything there. I think that was the right call. But the Sacred Maul in hand, what do you think that Patra's game plan is here, Nekkra? Is it go wide and blast face, or is it, keep as much close at hand as you can on resources?
I think she's utilizing a very similar strategy to what she did before, which was exactly what you said: go wide, blast face, do damage before you see that the scarabs come online, because that's something you don't want to see. And even though Patra ended up dealing with those scarabs really well, remember how many turns it took for her to be able to do that. And you're not running Void Ripper in
Mhm.
this deck, which means that that's even harder to deal with. But oh my gosh, this swipe just feels so bad here.
Yes, I mean it feels bad, but if you're sitting in Patra's position, that's one swipe down.
Yeah.
There being 4 damage spells in the end. We have 2 swipes and 2 Moonfires, and that's your combo. So knowing that one of the 3 is already gone is not a terrible thing. If you're pushing pressure to face, you have so many ways to um, rebuild your board. And then she also has that Divine Favor, which we've seen in other matchups that like versus the Hunter, when Future Shock had it, it was a dead card. But here, Druids don't tend to play a lot of cards. They tend to have very large hands. So this is going to work out really well in Patra's favor to be able to use all of her resources as quickly as she can to try to drive home as much damage, and then refill her hand and do it all over again. So Future Shock is just going to armor, and we see those spellstones get upgraded. Silly spellstones.
Yeah.
Super
Uh,
bad.
I mean, they're not for hunters anymore. Ha ha ha. Too
True
soon.
story.
Too
Aw, Rip Hunter. But anyway, we see that fungal minter coming down on these 3/3s. Those are going to be fairly difficult to clear without using some resources. So, using those spellstones will get rid of them, but you'd really like to see those spellstones wait for the Frost Wolves, for other larger minions that might come out. She is
Yeah.
going to go ahead and innervate this turn.
So what is
Um,
she planning to do with oh,
the hero.
Malfurion.
Yeah, Malfurian's coming down this turn. Um, and I like it. It looks like she's going to go ahead and choose the Scarabs.
Scarabs.
Yeah, I mean, I could have seen her really going either way with those, knowing that there wasn't
Um,
a great way to clear, but the Scarabs will hold off damage, which is what you need to have done here. Patra's really got some great options in hand. I love that Stonehill. There aren't all that many matchups where Stonehill feels amazing. However, when you can pick up some big stuff off of this, a Lich King, a Tyrion, a Tarim, Stonehill becomes quite an exciting card.
yeah, let's see what she gets here, and it's not going to be any of those
Oh,
things. I mean, maybe you go for the glue meteor, blah, 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 gloom eater again. I almost
yeah.
said gloom meteor, so it's fine.
Glim meteor, it can be
Yeah,
when it comes down from a taunt druid, it feels like a meteor.
it really
She does
does.
go with the annoying module. I like to either pick up. That's a really sticky minion, and that's what you want. Sticky minions are really nice. 4 health with 2 damage. It feels pretty good. The glue meter can get cleared fairly easily, and it's slow because that's a great spellstone one to be able to get rid of in one swoop, whereas that Annoyo module tends to stick around.
Yeah.
um here's where these Malygos
Hmm.
and other kind of combo-y decks, you really have nothing in hand to do, Nekkra. So this is where your skill gets tested. What do I do when I have nothing really to do? What is her game plan here, Nekkra?
You're asking the wrong person. I agree. Start looking for more pieces of the puzzle. You do have the Flibidness Floop, so it makes a lot of sense to me now that you're just trying to get some more card draw from that branching paths, and you're going to get a second branching paths as well. Not necessarily going to be able to utilize that here, but as of right now, Future Shock's game plan is trying to outlast, outwit, outplay, be the survivor in this matchup here and get to a point where that Flibidness Floop can see its utility by having the pieces of that druid come online.
Yes, I agree. There's just not a whole lot of stuff to be done in her hand, but she has a lot of removal. She's got a wrath. She's got the spellstone still. So she's really just kind of sitting back, waiting for her combo pieces to come into play. Um, but the problem for Patras here is there's just not a lot of damage to be done without going super wide, and that is
That's really, really
not what
dangerous,
you
right,
want.
Ron?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
so
spreading
dangerous.
plague at any turn.
Yeah,
So,
that's just like we've seen that Patra has gotten into a position where you get 6, 7 minions on board, and that spreading plague hits, and you just go, ooh, like no, you
I
like don't
know.
want to like see that happen. And so Patra really is trying to play around it. I feel like you have to play around it almost as if you're going to play around mind control tech, which you don't see anymore. But
Right.
it's the possibility of it being there is just intimidating.
It's definitely rough. However, Patra knows right now. Oh, and rope anxiety is killing me. But does she get it all in? Yes, she does
Yeah.
get it in. Whew. Ah,
Whew.
but the thing is that Patra has to know that Future Shock doesn't have Spreading Plague in hand, because if Spreading Plague were in hand, I feel like Future Shock would have already played it. 5 minions out. We saw the last time we saw this matchup. We saw her go ahead and shoot that out. I think it was actually 6. My apologies. But if she had it, I feel like that would have been the point where she was going to use it. So
Yeah.
Patra's really utilizing the fact that she has to top deck one of those spreading plagues here, and she's going to say, "You don't have it, so I'm going to push for it." And I think that's really smart. This next turn we could potentially see a divine favor. She's got a lot to, she
Oh
can
yeah.
use, and oh my goodness, here comes the swipe. That is the second swipe now that Patra's actually used. So, or I'm sorry, that Future Shock is actually used. Though that's your win condition right there. She's playing on the fact that she's going to be able to put some, that Mali goes down, put down some bigger minions that Patra's not going to be able to clear, is really, I think, what she's counting on here. Oh, and the raid leader is a huge pickup.
Yeah, that raid leader is great, but it would have been great if those minions were still around and had survived that voracious swipe. You're still going to see some value here, but sadly not the way that you want it to. I like the tempo play of the Flibidness Floop coming out from Future Shock, just because there's really no other way to kind of to deal with that board presence. You're trying to empty your hand in case you do get UI on turn 10. Um, so there's just kind of hmm. Yeah, I'm oh my god, that divine favor though. Remember we talked about this before where we saw the divine favor coming out within that hunter matchup and really not doing future shock any favors, but it's doing a lot of favors here.
Yes. Yeah, this is such a scary board here, Nekkra.
Is scary for future shock. I mean, where's the scarabs? Where are those scarabs that have come in clutch in the last few matchups? They're not here right now.
They're not. They're taking a smoke break at the bottom of the deck or something. Like
Something.
somebody get them on the clock here. Otherwise, this matchup is just going to get steamrolled. That UI coming into hand just isn't cutting it. It's the wrong order when you can burn so many cards. But I think she is going to use quite a bit of her removal here, trying to clear out her hand.
Yeah, she has the UI now, so she needs to be able to get some of those other resources out of the hand, or else she's going to start burning key pieces of the puzzle here. So you know that in the last 13 cards of her deck, that she has double Moonfire, that she has the Malagos that she's looking for in order to get this combination off. Another high value Arcane Tyrant that we're seeing here from Future Shock too. So
Yes, yeah, and we do see a lot of cards coming out of hand. I think that is just clearly to get that UI down. But 18 health, couple big minions on board. This Vine Cleaver is going to feel really good, I think, to be able to start doing that. But that UI coming into hand is just going to be, I think, clutch here for Future Shock.
I'm just thinking.
Yes, no, I agree. I'm looking at both hands here. That Stonehill offers up some interesting things. If Future Shock does end up picking up the Scarabs off of the UI, but we see that Leroy is in hand here. That's 10 damage with the weapon. So if anything sticks this next turn, she's got and the blessings. So
Yeah.
this is going to be a very very pivotal turn for Future Shock. How she handles this will determine if she wins or not. The UI will help armor her out, I think, but just barely.
Let's see what happens. So yeah, so UI will take care of one dude. The Arcane Tyrant will take care of another. So you've got two left on the side of Pathra. You have the Leroy that would come out though, so that would be at least 8 damage from just minions alone. You've got the 4 from the Vine Cleaver to give you 12. And
Mm-hmm.
you have the Blessing of Might to give you +3 to bring you up to 15. There's 15.
Yeah.
Future Shock would live one more turn, depending on what gets top decked from Patra's deck. Because as of right now, I'm looking in this and I say, well, you only use 6 mana for that. You might have enough to be able to utilize a raid leader if you do have another one in the deck. So
Yes, this is a big turn, and Future Shock definitely giving a lot of credence to the fact that there could be a Leroy in deck, and uses that another piece of her puzzle there. That Moonfire being another part of the combo just gone. So she only has one Moonfire left. So that is definitely out. We see Twig and the last Moonfire, but we do not see a Spreading Plague in there, do we?
no, and
No.
where's the Malagos? Where the 7 cards left, run. That's it. And we
7.
haven't seen the pieces that we really need in order to win this matchup. Yeah, Patra's about to push a lot of damage here. I think she needs to be just a little bit patient though. She is going to have to deal with some of this board because Future Shock has 9 damage on board. You also have the Moonfire damage as well as the damage from the hero power. So
Yes.
there's a lot coming out from Future Shock's board as well. This is coming down to the last couple of turns here.
I really like this. She's reaching for the Baku. The thing is she has to, statistically, you would have thought a Spreading Plague would come out here. And so this is extremely heads up play, I think, on her part. She's not going to be creating this gigantic board of Scarabs now. It's just going to be, she is going to go wide. But putting that 7-8 Baku out, I mean, that I think that's very good. She's gonna say, "I'm gonna put so much pressure on you. You're gonna deal, or you're gonna die."
And
And
she can deal, though. Like, look at the double naturalize in hand. Look at the 4/3 Arcane Tyrant on board. You now have the Spreading Plague, finally! In the last 7 cards of the deck, it was bound to come up at some point. So,
yes, yeah,
now here it is.
and that's where this deck, it sometimes the combos don't work, and sometimes you have to use your pieces early, and that's exactly what Future Shock did. But if she can stabilize, which I feel like she can now that she's finally reached that spreading plague, we see why this matchup is so rough for the Odd Paladin. Because once you get those down, if you can branching paths into a lethal, you can get an Alexstrasza down behind some of those taunts, and there's just no way for this Odd Paladin to get through 25 in health. So we do see the spreading plague come down, and I don't know what Pathra has to pull out of her deck to win. I think it's going to have to be like I don't know, it's going to be a mech soon after the deck's gone or something like that. Like, this is going to be rough.
Wrong class, but it's okay. We might see that Mechathune Warlock again coming out from
Right.
Patra. But you're right. I want to say this again, that Patra's not running a Void Ripper in this deck, which means that this is a weaker matchup for Patra. It's why the odds are so low for her to be able to win this against the Malagos Druid. Void Ripper, all of those become 1 health minions, and you can easily clear those with what you have on
Yes.
board.
Or, I mean, had a Tarim come off, or Tarim, however you say it. I've seen debate for both.
I say
Come off
Terran.
there. You say Tarim. Most people
Yeah.
say Tarim, but I've seen a few people say Tarim. However, had that like ripped off there, I think that, as Patra, you would have been in much better shape. But to be able to clear these scarabs off easily didn't happen. She got Tyrion. Tyrion's not the end of the line by any stretch of the imagination. It's going to help to get that 5 mana weapon or 5 attack weapon on board, help you to clear maybe some scarabs off, be able to deal some damage to face. So it's not a horrible pickup by any stretch of the imagination, but not necessarily what you want to see there. We do see the last UI come into hand. Definitely a
Can't
dead
use
card
that right now, though.
for Future Shock.
Yeah.
But sitting in Future Shock's position, life ain't so bad. Life ain't so bad
Where's
at
the
all.
Malagos? Run! There's
I
5 cards left in the deck. Where is it? It's just not coming up, and
it's
that's
not,
so
but
sad.
I mean, you just sitting behind 15 health and stats isn't terrible. You've got your hero power, you've got some draw. Oh, another tyrant coming into hand. You can play to the end game here. You've got a way to draw 3 cards, also to get that tyrant down. I don't know if I like that as much moving into fatigue, but you've got so many options if you're in Future Shock's position, sitting behind this 15 health, basically.
Yeah, I mean, but this wall is not going to last forever. Remember that last time Patra was faced with this formidable defense coming out from Future Shock? She was able to deal with it in a couple of turns, and look at the damage that she still has on board. She did get a Tyrion. She
And
is
in
going to
hand.
have the Vine Cleaver, and the Raid Leader now
Oh,
finally coming
it's
into
a big
hand is
pickup.
really. Oh yeah, especially because look at all of the damage that she has on board. You make it so that those Silverhand recruits can deal with those scarab beetles, and you're totally going to see that come out here, I think, just because you got to get rid of those taunts so that you can start chipping away at that damage before that Malagos comes into play.
Yes. And you know that there's really not a whole lot of board clears left on Future Shock's side at this point. So being able to get some of your bigger minions down behind a taunt here is going to be huge. There's just so much that she can do, but she does know that there's a second spreading plague in the deck. So she's got to be able to resource manage as well as know that she's got to figure out how do I win before the second scarab the second scarabs come down. um, but we see that she doesn't even have those yet. Malagos and the second set are still in the deck somewhere.
I know, and there's only 4 cards left, so we're about to see them pretty soon here, run. But not before we see all of these scarabs getting cleared off, and that 6 damage now going to face. That is 11 health left for Future Shock. This is definitely becoming dire straits, but Dream Petal Florist still not going to be able to do what it needs to, because where's
No.
that Malagos?
And now you're struggling with the fact that there's so much on a wide board. Normally, going wide against a druid feels terrible, but in this
Yeah.
case, you've made it through the one wall. The second wall's not there, so you've got to not only clear the board but armor out of out of reach, and now she's reaching for the branching paths, which is about the only thing that's going to keep her alive. But you've got to have this balance of what is my win condition? What does it end up being? Once I use all of these resources, oh, she's going to draw the card looking for
She's looking
it.
for it.
She's
There's that
looking
draw
for
engine.
it.
She's
50-50.
cycling.
That's an excellent.
Oh,
There it is.
there's a spreading plague, but does that mean that Malygos is the last card in the deck? I
I,
think
I
it
believe
does.
so. Wow.
Unlucky. Wow. Unlucky, but that really does mean that it's going to be this is the last couple of turns here for this matchup because you're going to be able to you're going to have to deal with yet another large wall of taunts here, and you're starting to run out of resources to be able to do that. The Frost Wolf Lord is going to help a little bit, maybe the Blessing of Might, Tyrion Ford Ring just going to be a taunt that stands in the way of dealing damage to the 17 health that you have left. But what are the options here for Patra to be able to deal with this wide board?
I mean, the nice thing is she's starting to see some larger minions come into hand, Nekkra. She's got a lot of weapons that are going to be able to do some good stuff, with that Tyrion there, and then whatnot. So she's going to be able to make quick work of this spreading plague, and then be able to refill the board every single hand. So it's not the end of the world position. Future Shock really doesn't have a ton of threats left in her hand. She's got a lot of draw spells, and that's just not going to get the job done. She's got one naturalize, which is going to help a lot. But if Patra plays her cards right here, no pun intended, um,
I love it, Run.
then it's going to be. I mean, it's going to come down to the wire, and that's a sign of excellent skill on both players' parts.
Uh,
So,
there's the
whoa.
Malygos.
There's the Malicos.
Is this going to be able to get off before Patra is able to deal with those scarabs that are standing between her and bringing this to match point?
Okay, so what damage does that Malagos, because she's already used both Moonfires and she's used both swipes, right?
Uh,
So
correct.
so the Malagos really at this point doesn't have any damage. I mean, it's just going to
Oh,
be a big
yeah.
body. So looking at Future Shock's hand, you've got an Enervate, the Dream Petal Florist, the UI. You've got two card draws, and you've got Malygos. I mean, those are your win
Naturalize.
conditions.
I
I
agree
mean,
with this.
yeah, naturalize is going to be helpful. But again, there goes that 5-drop weapon. So really, it's going to be a matter of pushing as much damage here as she can to face. I think. Oh nope, she's going to clear board. I don't mind that at all.
I think that's
Um,
smart. And I
yeah.
want to talk about why I agree with that choice, and it's because of the fact that you don't if you're not necessarily paying attention to the deck list, you might not know what kind of extra damage might still be in the deck in terms of well, we know that both raid leaders are gone, but is there another fungal mancer or something like that that might be able to buff those
Mhm.
minions to a point where you can more easily deal with that line of scarabs that Future Shock is put in place in between her and her face. So
Yes. And
may
if
as well.
she is keeping track, my apologies, Necker there. If
No,
she is
go
keeping
for it.
track, both Stonehills have been used, I believe, and
Yes.
both uh, both of the gifted minions have been used. So Future
Yep.
Shock knows there's not a lot in the way of taunts here. So by putting down a big body that she can't get rid of over 3 turns, even if everything else is cleared, for sure she wins based on that. And with that hero power, she's able to actually give herself that time. So um, it's going to be a race to the finish, Nekra.
It's definitely going to be a race to the finish, and you can see that Patra is racing to be able to finish her turn. That
And that
Maul is
is
going to do a little bit to be able
huge.
to do a big
Mhm.
wall here. And
Yes.
now we're gonna see Future Shock starting to go into fatigue. There's some damage
Yes.
on board here. That Frost Wolf Warlord is looking like a big threat here. And what can you
Mhm.
really do? You've got a lot of dead cards in hand now if you're Future Shock. Those nourishes aren't going to do anything for you, and neither is that ultimate infestation because that's going to finish you off. You can't
Yes.
use those cards. Innervate's not going to do a whole lot here either, unless you want to try to use Twig of the World Tree. There's just she's
It,
calculating. She can
yes.
kind of I don't know, what do you do here? You've got Malagos, you've got Arcane, you've got maybe a Scarab Beetle to be able to deal with a Frost Wolf, but what do you
Yeah,
do?
I mean, really, armor is going to be key here. She needs to keep these scares alive. The only other play I see is maybe getting that Malagos down and going back up to 15, trying to leave as few minions on board as possible and healing up as much as she can. I mean, this hand is not what you want when there's Twig is not going to do you anything, and you're drawing spells, and the Dream Petal Florist is actually terrible. It's just this was rough. She decides to go for the attack. I like this play. It's very good. Um,
But this is where this is it.
oh,
This is
oh, this
lethal.
is it. This is lethal because of the blessing.
Yeah.
Both ways around, she was able to do it. The art with the weapon in their case, there was several lines of lethal, and she does manage it. Pathra manages to get through all of that to take a 35-65% win, Nekkra. Oh my stars.
I don't know if
Wow.
like you can see my face right now, but my jaw dropped to
I
be able just like that just amazing gameplay. I think that Future Shock got so unlucky with where those scarabs were at the bottom of the deck. Malagos is at the very, very bottom of the deck, and that meant
That's
that all of the
hard.
pressure that
Mm.
Patra was putting on with that odd paladin
That was just
yeah, you had to use your
crazy.
damage to be able to deal with that instead of the
Yes.
combo.
I agree. I mean, having all of that happen was just the way it was going to end up there. So now we're going to go, oh, look, Nekkra, the mage is here. This is
Hey!
exciting.
One of
So,
my
Nekkra,
favorite classes.
remind the viewers, what is the
Yes.
score right now for
The
Future Shock and
score
Patra?
right now for Future Shock and Patra is up in this very last series 2-0. This is Future Shock's last hope here. And the odd paladin's odds of winning this matchup is 70%. This is insurmountable
Oh
odds
my
for
goodness.
Future Shock to be able to deal with here. It's going to be, who's going to win in this odd matchup? I don't know, but numbers are telling me that it might be Patra here.
I see what you did there. Um, yes, this is definitely a rough matchup just because Odd Paladin is one of the few meta decks right now that can really control the early board and, be able to, kind of mitigate some of that damage that it does. As we were talking about during the break, it's the odd can struggle because of that hero power. So it's really, I mean, it's just a matter of who gets the right draw and plays it correctly. And fatigue has got to be something these players are currently dealing with, Nekkra.
Oh, yeah. This has been a long day. Playoffs have been going on for at least 6 hours today, which means that these players are tired. They are trying to get through the final legs of this journey through the baddest women of Hearthstone tournament. And there's a
Mhm.
nice prize on the line. $1,000 prize pool. Future Shock and Patra are both going to be taking home a piece of that prize. But the first place winner gets a ticket to DreamHack. And
Mhm.
that could definitely be utilized with that prize money in order to make something happen.
Yes,
So,
I really liked that play. By the way, from
oh, yeah.
Patra, there was several ways that left Future Shock ahead on the board. There was a way to make it even, but she decides to go face to give herself to keep control of this board. That hero power, doing the damage it needs to do. But I really thought that was heads up, trying to control the board and leave minions on. Going wide is definitely going to be the way that. that Patra is able to absorb some of the damage from Cinderstorms and Arcane Missiles, the way that, it be able to get minions in to rush in and do damage. So she's really thinking this out, thinking about what she needs to do to win this matchup, and it was super heads up play there.
Absolutely. And now, though, Future Shock's going to be able to potentially turn this around because you've got black cats in hand. You've got more of those fireflies, those pesky little fireflies that just have more health than what the odd paladin can kind of deal with in dudes alone. But I like the state of actually both of these players' hands so far. I think that what we're going to be looking at here in terms of a swing turn is going to be turn 5.
Yes, I agree. Once the Fumblemancer is able to come down, that's going to be a big deal. Although the Daring Fire Eater coming into hand does help clear up a little bit more of that. Kind of an unfortunate pickup for Patra there, because that Fire Elemental becomes a 3/4, which is easily cleared when that Daring comes down and deals damage. However, I mean, it's not, still getting the Fungalmancer, getting out, what is that, 6/6 in stats spread over 3 minions does not ever hurt in this matchup at all.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, Cinderstorm. I I both love and I hate that card. But this is a turn where things I think we're really going to start to unfold for both of these players. You got Fungal Mancer coming on board for Patra, Future Shock potentially looking at putting down Clockwork or Pyromaniac. There's a lot of draw
Mhm.
engine here for Future Shock coming into these next couple of turns.
Yes, this
So
is definitely where the mage starts to shine. With the deck is made up of so many 3 drops, and so being able to do a 3 drop and your hero power is just the spot you want to get into as the odd mage here.
yeah, let's see. Now it's Patra's turn. And so Patra has the Sacred Maul, which could give taunt. I don't necessarily think that's the best. Well, we might be seeing this. I guess I don't really know if there's a kind of a better course of action here. Maybe push a bunch of damage. I'm not
Yeah,
entirely sure.
I kind of like them all to be able to get rid of this. The more draw that the odd mage has, the worse off you are, because they're going to be searching for those cards that really help them out, whether that's buffing the hero power or that's the Janelle Dragonhawk. That, I think that's what she's trying to prevent, is a little bit more of that draw in hand. So we do see a lot of burst damage here with the kitty cat. I can't think of the kitty cat's name right now.
The Black Cat.
Um, the black cat. So, there's a lot of burn coming here. She is going to have to clear that fire elemental out. And we see her put on the other pyromaniac, which is fantastic. A fantastic card for mage. Draw is so good.
Oh, card draw. One of the most powerful pieces in a mage's kit. But now Patra's going to have to kind of deal with the mind game about what Future Shock might have in hand. We just
Mhm.
saw Cinderstorm already used a couple of turns ago. Does she have a chance here to, increase the height of her board? Does she go for widening it here? Maybe the Stonehill Defender to see what comes off the top. Because she
Mhm.
has gotten really lucky with the RNG, drawing or having the ability to choose some of those bigger taunts.
Yes, and I like putting big minion down with lots of health there, being able to push some damage. It's going to be harder for her to clear it, knowing that one daring has already come down, and even if the second one comes down, that's still only 4 damage onto a 6/6. And then she's able to push another, to get rid of this pyromancer or pyromaniac, sorry, and then also push a little bit of damage face. I like it. That's a lot of stats on board for a Cinderstorm or a arcane missiles to get through, even if it's buffed by that cat. And we do see also the secret coming into hand. The oh stars every time Nekkra help me out. The
That's the explosive runes. That's
explosive
why I kind of
runes.
like drew in my breath because that really could help Future Shock in the next couple of turns because, well, we know what's there. And it's going to be two minions in Patra's hand right now that would be taken out by that
Mhm.
explosive rune if it does come online. But, Future Shock's going to have to deal with the fact that there is 11 damage on board right now.
Yes, and
It's a
she's
lot.
not sitting in a great position. I do really super like that play there. The more that we talk this out too, because
Yeah.
she got that 6/6 storm wind guy down when she knew it wouldn't die, and that's a big deal in this matchup because it really is like a soft taunt when with all the burn that's in this deck. So really heads up play there again from Pathra. I can't say that enough. She really thinks about all of her plays thoroughly and is really making this an interesting series. And Future Shock is just fantastic as well here. Oh, look at these choices. A lot more interesting.
Ziliax. Ziliax actually might be a great choice here because you do have a couple of mechs run in Patra's Odd Paladin deck. So you might be able to get that magnetic, which is not something that you actually get a chance to see super often. And the fact that that has lifesteal as well. Patra's not in too bad of a position right now, having 21 health. But Future Shock's definitely looking to make a little bit of a comeback here in terms of dealing with this board, but this is menacing run.
Oops, my apologies. There are a few answers in this, but not the kind of answers you really want to use. A daring fire eater can help clear some stuff. You've got a little bit of burn with the arcane missiles to kind of try to deal with stuff, but this is scary. This is really scary. And we do see the daring coming down, as well as I bet that clockwork is going to come down to be able to clear the stormwind. But that's a ton of resources and a really super wide board.
I'm
Um,
just I'm shaking my head only because this is just
oh, that's
it
it.
comes down to this, Run.
Yes.
This
Yep.
is match point for Patra, and this is
Yeah.
gonna
With
be
that raid
lethal
leader.
here. That raid leader finally going to see the spotlight for Patra, and this means
Wow.
that Patra is gonna be the NA champion of the Badass Women of Hearthstone tournament.
Oh my goodness. Can you believe that it came down to this odd paladin? I
Wow.
like it was it steamrolled. I mean, that just shows you the difference between the matchups. We went the very first time we see this matchup, we see 3-0 with Patra.
Yeah.
The second time we see it, we see 3-1 for Future Shock. And the third time we see it, 3-0. Can you believe that, Nekkra? What a series.
I really can't. I mean, but that's just the way that Hearthstone goes sometimes. And honestly, some phenomenal gameplay from both of these players. The fact that Future Shock was able to go through the consolation bracket and bring us to a second set in the
Yes.
grand finals.
Yes, I a
So
second set.
happy about that.
I know that was fantastic. I mean, it was just such good play on both parts. I think this would have been a very different series if that Malagos hadn't kind of turned the way around that it did. I mean, for
Yeah.
Pathra to take a 35-65 game and win it there was super great. Usually, Odd Paladins run out of steam. She never ran out. She held her resources close, and she did what she needed to do. And then those scares being in the bottom, I mean, that was huge. And then
Yeah.
again, she's just been playing excellent. We saw lots of great plays on her part, Nekkra.
Oh, absolutely. Remember, we've been talking about this a lot that both of these players do take their time to think about every single
Mhm.
aspect of this game. And I know some of chat's like, oh, there were a couple misplays here and there, but think about this. These both of these ladies have been playing for a long time today, and they're
Mhm.
also on a pretty big stage. So it is expected that you might not always make the most ideal opportunity, but this is an opportunity to learn, right?
Right. And you're not going to, as a player, make the right play in every single situation. It's just not going to happen. And when you consider that, they're playing, 3 or 4 hours in a row, your play tends to get a little sloppier as you go along. But that being said, like, just the phenomenal play, the way that each of them made these series last. I mean, we saw so many great plays from futureshock last turn, where she was able to really go from the a really slow end game where she was drawing fives and sevens
Yeah,
mana cards, and able to take those kind of terrible draws and turn them into something great. So that being
very
said,
true.
these players, like, they made it a series. This was absolutely like the way you'd want it to end almost. It would have been great to see these to go to 3-2, but both players just, man, they just played excellent.
I know. And if you want to see any more of their play, a lot of them
Mhm.
actually stream to Twitch. So please check out the bracket. You can use the command !bracket to send yourself to the Battlefy where you can
Mhm.
see every single woman that ended up playing in this tournament. This is going to be it for this first one, but this was the inaugural season, and we really hope that we'll be able to come back and have a second turn of events.
Yes.
So thank you so much for the support thus far. Please go support our amazing women that made this tournament possible. Thank you again to the tournament admins for being able to allow us to have this environment in the first place. And of course, to the viewers for all of the chat, and the support for these amazing women.
Yes, it was fantastic. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to chat. Thank you to all the supporters. And I mean, just, our people who gave to the tournament so that the prize pools were there, people who,
Yeah.
to DreamHack, whoever, I believe, I don't remember who gave us the ticket for that, but whoever did that, thank you. I mean, just so many people
Oh, yeah.
that were so wonderful. Thank you to Cinder Ascent for doing production today, Brasky for doing production today, all of the casters that were able to do this as well. Just you guys, this was awesome, and we're so glad that whether you watched, you played, or you casted, or production, or organized, we're glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for being a part of the Badass Women of Hearthstone community. And a special congratulations again to Patra and Mariochette for being our division winners. You are the most badass in this tournament. And we really hope to see you all again. So thank you all so much for watching tonight. I hope you enjoyed this Hearthstone.
Have a good evening, guys.